You're watching the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. Now it's time for the Brent and Austen Show.
Oh, there it is. Look, it looks like they're working on that field, not to play football, but get it set up for the NFL Draft 2024. The party coming up on Thursday. The party starts right now for us here on the Brent and Austen Show, the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network, and we'll be there all day Thursday with the show from 10 a.m. until 1 p.m., and then, of course, on the TV side throughout the day, monitoring what the Jaguars are going to do. And 7 p.m., we'll have a live one-hour show, Draft Night in Duval, on Fox 30, and plenty of reaction on social media and everywhere else on TV and every platform we've got here with Action Sports Jax. It is Draft Week 2024. Finally, I think they should really move this up. It takes too long to get to. We diagnose it. We have 560,000 different mock drafts. We've got a couple of other ones here today as well that we can get into. What will the Jags do? It's almost time to make a choice. Jacksonville, Brent Martineau, along with Casey Kurtz, back in the saddle, the pinch hitter.
That's me. What's
Coming
up,
off the bench. What's happening?
It's been a minute.
Yeah, it has.
But, I was not surprised when I got the call on draft week. Brent, as you know, 2 years in a row, we've had some serious trauma draft week. So this just felt like poetic justice. Not all of you are going to get that. Some of you will if you go back. And then none of y'all know what happened last year, but it was the beginning of the end. No big deal. But, Brent, excited to be here with you. None of you are going to get that, but there's some of you that'll get that.
I didn't even think about that.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, that was a good call.
Yeah, it was.
Why does Austin go away on draft week every year?
Yeah, just hope he comes back this time, huh? You know what I'm saying?
So here's the deal. Austin actually is on his way to Vegas today because he's got his fight. He's going to join us from Vegas throughout the week, the rest of the week, and take us kind of behind the scenes there in Vegas for his fight. So he's got a big week as well. Obviously, Saturday in the Apex in Las Vegas, his third UFC fight. And this one will be a big one, as we talked about on Friday, and we shared over the weekend, too. So you can go back and look at some of that conversation. We'll take you behind the scenes in Vegas with that fight, and obviously a lot of draft talk all week. We will get to Shock Your Mock in a little bit, but we have our quarterfinal round, Shock Your Mock, and our draft coverage presented by Everbank all week long, and we will be at Everbank Stadium, of course, coming up on Thursday. Everybody's talked this out. We all know what's at stake. We all know the different scenarios, and yet it hit me today, and I'm not going to do this right now, or maybe even today, might wait for the Thursday, is when you think about all the different conversations that have been had, and this goes all the way back to January, but really for us, I would say it picks up, after the Super Bowl, and then you get the free agency part of it, and so then your attention really turns to the draft and what the Jaguars can do. We've gone over just about every scenario, but what hit me today is, wait, don't forget to back up to what you really thought was going to happen. And that's why I look at mock drafts, right? Mock drafts are, hey, we're going to give you a mock draft in October, November, December, January, February, March, April, mock draft 7.0, 8.0, all these. I mean, it's part of a little bit of a click, right? It's part of a conversation. We don't really do them like that. We do it a little bit different way. I get the mock draft world, but these are the mock drafts that come out today that finally say, oh, this is what I really think, right? Or this week, this is what I really think. Because deep down, Casey, everybody wants to be right.
Yeah, listen, I'm a big supporter of being right. It's always great when you are right. But, yeah, I mean, when you put out a mock draft and, during the season, you're just feeling it out. We're getting closer and closer to the final draft, Brent. A lot of rough drafts out there from all the draft experts, but you're up against it looking for that final draft. And I think it was last year. Yeah, but it was like the day of the draft, the day before, that Jeremiah put out the one that was like, remember, he had the Texans trading that into the third pick.
Did he really?
Yeah, he had, and everyone was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And it happened.
I don't remember that, but wow.
Yep, it was
That's
either
a
the
good
day
call.
of or the day before. So, I mean, they're putting it together, Brent. It seems like every time you look at more of these mocks, more quarterbacks are going higher in the draft.
Yeah, and there's some interesting stuff. Adam Schefter has some interesting notes today. I mean, nothing crazy, but some interesting nuggets on draft week, and also there's like a 7-round mock that comes out, which I think is just nuts. Like,
shout out to that guy.
I mean, yeah,
Bro's been working for years on that.
Yeah, so I don't get too wrapped up in that, but the first 2-3 rounds are always interesting when you figure that part out. So we'll talk about it, and getting back to what I was saying about the mocks and really what's the underlying theme. I came back to a bunch of different thoughts like, okay, remember, I'm the guy that coming out of the combine didn't think cornerback was going to be as high as everybody said. Now, a couple months later, I might be reeling a little bit on that because when you make sense of how high those other receivers are going to go, what's going to be left on the receiver board, even if receiver were a top priority, well, cornerback, there's going to be more of them at 17 and probably higher players of the position to be able to go get. I think some people still think like offensive line could be in play. I'm starting to hear that sneaky. I don't get it at all, but I didn't get it last year either. So I'm just being honest with you. I don't understand how offensive line is a big player here. Obviously, everyone wants receiver. So the emotion here is receiver. Go up and get your guy. Easier said than done. Do you like Brian Thomas enough to stay? Do you move back and just go get one of a bunch of different guys that kind of fit in the same window, or do you wait to the second round or even trade up in the second round to go get a guy that you covet that is still left? I mean, all those scenarios in play. But I think the overlooked play is still going to be pass rush. I don't think it's been talked about since day one. I don't think people are on it very much. I think it's a bigger need than Jags fans and people are talking about. I think it's just a quiet conversation. What the Jags could do with that 17th pick, what they could trade up and go get in a Jared Verse or someone else who might slip that they like. We like the name Jared Verse because we watched him, we know him, but there's a lot of mocks have him slipping all the way into the early 20s. Are the Jags going to let a guy like Jared Verse go when they have Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen? Obviously, two guys that are highly invested in, one monetarily, one draft capital-wise, but they really don't have much after it. Like, they really don't. Yeah. Playing in this 4-3 defense. Have we missed the boat on that conversation collectively? Well, we haven't because I know we've been talking about it. But overall, I don't feel like there's a bunch of groupthink saying pass rusher.
Yeah, it feels like there's not a ton, but also, Brent, it kind of feels like it's Jared Verse or it's nobody. So, like, if he's not there, it feels like that's kind of out
of play. But Chop Robinson's gained some steam. I mean, there's some other guys in there.
Yeah, I mean, gain steam, sure, but if you're picking at 17 and you had to wait for someone to gain steam to get up there, like you weren't sure, like there's guys that I would like to believe that they have solid grades on at 17 that aren't pass rushers. So if Jared Verse isn't there, I don't know if that's making a ton of sense. If you're looking at Yahoo, who shout out to them for having a mock draft today. Most importantly, though, was free. You sent me 3 articles, Brent, all of which had to be paid for. I'm unemployed, so I'm not paying for those articles. We'll have to talk about that when we get to it. But they have receivers going at 6, 7, and 8, and that would be Neighbors, Dunze, and then Brian Thomas at 8, according to this thing. So then if you kind of follow that, you have basically your pick of corners at 17 if you go by what they do, and they have Jared Verse at 23. So it looks like you could have one of many corners. It looks like you could have Jared Verse if you go by this mock draft. But what it looks like is you're not going to have a pick of receiver there.
Yeah, I can't imagine the Jags have receiver at all here. It just doesn't make sense. Well, in those 3. I mean, there's just no way those 3. It's beyond groupthink. It's common sense think. It's also everybody seems to want or need a receiver in the first half of the draft, really in the entire draft. So, like, I think there are 20 teams that potentially would try to get one of those top 3 receivers. Mm-hmm. And I'm just throwing a number out there, but that's the point. I mean, that's how much they covet those guys, so much so that it doesn't look like Arizona's even going to move, although there's some thought, hey, if you really blow them away, that they could. But they're not even going to move, most likely. And that's how much they think a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr. is key. And that good. And Yahoo's draft there, what were the Chargers doing? Getting offensive line or something?
It has the Chargers.
Because you said 6, 7, 8, I think.
It has the Chargers trading the pick with Minnesota for J.J. McCarthy.
Ah, okay. Yeah.
So your first 5, 4 quarterbacks, then Marvin Harrison. But your first 10 are all offensive players. The last 2 being tackles, and then 4 wide receivers, 4 cornerbacks, 2 tackles.
So Jordan Reed does this 7-rounder for ESPN. Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, and then Marvin Harrison. Alt for the Chargers, which would also make some sense given the comments of Harbaugh. Neighbors, then Adunze to Tennessee at 7, which, again, they would be getting him in your scenario too, right? Or are they trading out of it?
It's a trade with Chicago.
Okay. And then J.J. McCarthy to 8, Dallas Turner the edge to 9, and then Brock Bowers to 10. And so that lands me to another surpriser. Like, the best conversation I thought we had on the draft cycle so far was about Brock Bowers. And if Bowers were to somehow fall, to 12 or 13. You know, what Trent Baalke did give us, and again, I think Trent Baalke gives us way more than any GM has given us coming out of those little draft luncheons. The last couple of years, I think he's been very good at throwing us a nugget here or a nugget there and at least getting us to think about some scenarios. Well, the thing that he basically told us, if you believe word for word, and you just go off what he said, was we're probably not trading into the top 10. But we might be willing to trade 12, 13, 14 up a few spots. Well, if a Brock Bowers slips down to number 12 or 13, whether it's the Eagles or the Raiders or something like that, would they be willing to dance to go get Bowers? Do you go get a Dallas Turner there? Do you go get your best corner there? Do you go get Jared Verse there if you see him starting to go? Or do you covet Brian Thomas and you're afraid somebody else is going to get him? In this mock draft, I see the Colts getting Brian Thomas at number 15. Like, how much motivation is it to get in front of the Colts for the Jaguars as they shape their board here on a Monday and have their final meetings?
I mean, there's got to be at least a good amount of motivation after you see what the Colts did last year. Again, Yahoo has Brock Bowers going 12th to Denver, so that's right in that window that you're talking about, and they have Dallas Turner going 15 to the Colts. So those are two guys that you could be interested in. If the first 10 players in the draft are offensive players, you have to believe that if you get up to 12, 13, you're probably getting the second, maybe third at the worst defensive player off the board. So you're pretty much getting your pick of that guy if you go up there. But Brock Bowers, it's definitely intriguing because in college he was fantastic. He was a game wrecker at the tight end position, which is kind of a weird thing, but it was true. He was dominant for them. He was their guy. So the question would be, how does that translate to the NFL game? Is he big enough to kind of play that role? Because you'd probably have to play him some on the outside because, as we've done this experiment for 3 years, the Jags tight end number 2 does not get the football.
He doesn't. No, I know it.
So you'd have to move that guy around to get him the ball, or else it makes no sense.
But the Jags have also said, Trevor Lawrence at least has said last Tuesday, a week ago, that, hey, we've made some changes to our offense. We're doing some different things. It's going to look a little bit different. What does that look like? Do they go back to the Philadelphia ways? Do they incorporate even a Brenton Strange a little bit more? Right. But if they were able to land a Brock Bowers, do they do that? What we did is when we took the experiment of, hey, do you need a number 1 wide receiver or could you go get 2 tight ends? And when you have 2 tight ends, how difficult is that to defend for opposing defenses? And we got back to the Patriots days of Hernandez and Gronk. We got back to the Doug Eagles days of Ertz and Goddard, right? So, I mean, it's a unique thing, but it seems like when you do have it, it seems like it shows up with a lot of flowers at the end of the day. So that was the fascinating part of the conversation. Do you need a number 1 wide receiver, or is it better to put the defense on edge with 2 really good tight ends? We already know Ingram's a big mismatch for people, and we think Bowers is going to do the same thing in the NFL.
Yeah, listen, I love the idea of the 2 tight end set. I mean, when they ran it a couple of times in the last couple of years, I was fired up because for a while the Jags couldn't even run a 1 tight end set, it felt like, because they couldn't get him the football. But I don't know, Brent. I think if they draft Brock Bowers, and I think he's a great football player, I think you have to have the conversation of the evidence says that they're not going to be able to use this guy the way that you should use a guy that you picked that high.
Yeah, I think that is possible and could be the play. I'll give you another couple of guys. Like in this draft, right? Byron Murphy seems like he's a high flyer right now. If you listen to a lot of the reports, again, this is the week to listen to the reports. This is the week where things start to happen. And people start to get intel that I think actually has some quality to it and really works. Jared Verse goes down to 19. So in this mock draft, Byron Murphy, if he's really a top 10 kind of talent, would the Jags pass him up? They could use young defensive tackle help. Are they going best player on their available? They've got depth. Now, he could still factor in a rotational play, but remember now, Nielsen's former defensive line guy.
Right.
Everybody's talking about corners with Nielsen. He wants to play that press style, but he's also a former defensive line guy. So Murphy and Verse and players like that seem to make some sense if still there, and you can get a hell of a quality player with all the offensive guys going off the board if people really do have Murphy as a top 10 talent, but the offensive guys are shoving him down even further to, say, a 17 or a 15 or a 14.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point, and you're right about Nielsen. I remember that's what I was excited about him when they hired him because of what Trayvon Walker could potentially continue to become under Ryan Nielsen. But, Brent, I think it's just the scar tissue of you've got to draft players that can impact right away. And I understand you're going to say, well, where do you want to play them? I get that. But if you're talking between Jared Verse and Byron Murphy, who do you think is playing more in 2024?
Yeah, I do think Verse plays more. Yeah.
I think that matters right now. Like,
Yeah.
I just think you're in a spot where that's going to matter. And I understand why Byron Murphy could make some sense there. But for at least a couple years, you're talking Eric Armstead. And you don't really want to take him off the field if you don't have to. Devon Hamilton, you got all that. So I think if those two guys are who you're deciding between, I would lean Jared Verse.
Yeah, I don't know the flexibility. Listen, we know Devon Hamilton's going to play on that inside spot, right, in this 4-3 scheme. So he's going to play inside. So is Armstead. You obviously got Trayvon and Josh. What I don't know I'm assuming that 3 technique area is where Roy Robertson Harris goes as well. Now, in the 3-4, he was playing out on the edge a bit more. So how do they utilize him? Can they utilize him in multiple spots? Obviously, Armstead's got some flexibility too. So I tend to agree with you that a guy like Murphy doesn't really make a lot of sense right now for the Jacksonville Jaguars. But maybe that's a piece where they can actually trade back with a team that if Murphy and a Verse are still on the board, you can trade back for somebody who might be going to get Murphy. You still end up with Verse, or you end up with a corner that you still like. I think he could be an interesting piece in this first round for many teams. And again, a lot of that's best player available versus need. And I think Baalke even indicated that. If you have a lot of this closeness between players, you're probably going to go need. Well, Murphy probably doesn't fit the need as well as Verse does, or a corner does, or obviously a receiver does.
Yeah, I mean, they do have needs. I don't think that's one of them. But again, if you've got that option to move back, kind of see what happens if both of those guys are still available. It worked out for him last year, and that's lucky, fine, whatever you want to say. I just think whoever that they decide to pick, whether it's 17, it's earlier, or it's later, dude has to make an impact, because we can't be sitting, or you guys can't be sitting here talking about that again 2 years in a row.
Yeah, I do think impact-wise, I think Verse has a chance to make a big impact for you in a pass rush situation. And that's where I go back to. That's sleepy, because you feel like you've got your guys. The problem is you've got your guys until they get dinged up for 3 games and you got nobody.
I agree.
So you really have to be careful of that. I think the Jaguars are better suited right now depth-wise at cornerback than they are at pass rush. And probably at wide receiver, for that matter.
I mean,
because don't get trapped about wide receiver depth. We did it last year. Thought they had 7 guys. In fact, they kept 7 guys. Well, they needed a lot of them, and there was a huge drop-off. Again, do they have bodies at other places? Yeah. But, I think guys like Gregory Jr., right? Or Buster Brown. These guys have played a little bit.
You've seen something, yeah.
You actually have seen something. We have no idea about Yasir Abdullah. Is he going to take a step? Are they going to get the best out of a guy like that? Does he even fit with what they're trying to do after they drafted him? Because, again, they're changing what they're looking for. Baalke admitted that as well on Thursday in the draft luncheon. So I think you can make the case. It's the least filled position from a depth standpoint. And by the way, you use those guys. You really do use those 8 players on rotation. There are times, folks, that Josh Allen and Trayvon Walker actually come out of games for a series to get a breather. And then there's times, of course, with all this passing situation, Armstead should help this too, that you're going to throw 3 of those guys out there at the same time, but then Armstead's your 4th guy in that. And Hamilton's on the sideline. Who is that guy?
Yeah, they don't have that dude.
They just picked up, you got the depth chart?
Yeah.
They picked up, what's his name?
Gibson. Yes.
Who, by the way, sneaky has some production in his career. I know he's not a household name, but right now that's what you're going with.
Yeah, I mean, you don't have the bot. I get it. Yasir Abdullah, you don't know, but why was he inactive most of the year last year? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know how you could have a lot of faith in him.
Agreed. And yeah, you make a decent point with guys like Monteric Brown and Gregory Jr., Braswell, whatever, but you've seen them play, and it's not like you're really running to put them back out there.
Yeah,
so, I think you're in a situation where I think you're in trouble if any of these big-time guys get hurt. Tyson Campbell last year, you saw it. It wasn't good really when he was in there because he was hurt, and then when he wasn't in there, it wasn't good either. So, yeah, I think you're in serious trouble one way or another if one of those guys were to get hurt, whether in your secondary or on your defensive front.
Now, the only other thing they're going to do, I mean, they could, and we'll see this, I think, in this defense. I think we've discussed it already. A guy like Devin Lloyd may rush a little bit more, right? I mean,
that's the one spot you have a ton of dudes.
And you do have a lot of guys, so you have some versatility there. But what does that look like? Again, Trevis Gibson right now, Yasir Abdullah, that's what you've got.
Yep.
Like, that's what you've got behind. As good as Trayvon Walker and Josh Allen sound, that's what you have behind. And maybe that's enough. I don't think so. Deshaun Dixon's a guy who's been around here for a while, hasn't been able to get on the field. The Jags, I just will continue to say this, that we've been saying this for months, coming off the combine. Receiver sexy. Need it. Absolutely. Love it. Go help Trevor. Can't blame you if you do it. We'll be applauding, and it'll be the best pick and the loudest eruption, no doubt. To me, I think the next biggest play the Jaguars could make here is pass rusher. I really do, especially if they get a good one. And you can steal one because of all the offensive guys going off the board. Trent Baalke just said Thursday, there will be 32 teams that will rank the top 10 corners 32 different ways. Mm-hmm. He said 28, and then he said maybe even 32. I don't like that. I think that has a bigger miss rate if you're trying to identify your top guy than maybe any other position when he says something like that. But I also think you can go get one in the second round to add to it and maybe get the steal. Like, do not be surprised if the best corner in this draft comes out of the second round.
Sure. I mean, that's always possible, especially at that position, depending on how guys develop. You're not always getting a Sauce Gardner. Like, you don't always hit like that. But I would like to believe that if you're talking about the guys at the very top of the cornerback position, like, yeah, you can rank them different ways, whatever. But it feels like you would like to believe that most teams have the same guy at like 1 or 2. I have a hard time believing that half the league has somebody at 1 or 2, and then the Jags and 6 other teams have them at 8.
Yeah, it just reminds me.
That'd be shocking.
It would be, but I'm telling you, man, I said this on Friday, like, this reminds me of 2020. That cornerback stuff was all over the place. Okudah was clearly the guy. CJ Henderson, we were stunned when he went top 10, and a lot of people were. And I think that was the year, like, I mock drafted, then got made fun of about Trevon Diggs because a lot of people had Diggs, but people had Diggs between like 15 and 50 something. He went 52 to the Cowboys. And by the way, Diggs isn't like, to me, Jalen Ramsey, but he's a guy who's earned a $100 million deal and has been very good in the National Football League.
He's made some plays.
So, like, he wasn't the 52nd guy, but I think we did this the other day. I think the 50th guy, now I can't remember who it was, Jalen Johnson.
Yep.
I think those two guys ended up as the best corners in that draft. And they were picked 50 and 52, which probably would have put them as like the 7th or 8th corners taken in the draft. This has, I got a feeling that this is a little bit like that. Now, I hope that we don't have the bustability of the guys of 2020, because the busts in 2020 were massive at the corner spot.
When it went bad, it was bad. Okudah was 3, as you mentioned. Obviously, C.J. Henderson. We get that. A.J. Terrell at 16.
Terrell's had some, but he still hasn't been as consistently as dominant as people thought he would be. But he's had really good moments.
Yeah. It didn't.
He's a good player. He's a good player.
Arnett at 19 was not good. Not good at all. And then the other corner in the there's 2 more. There's Noah Igbenogany, who with Miami didn't work, and then obviously Gladney.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's just, again, I'm not predicting you'll have all those characters, although, it was interesting, Baalke said about the corner position. He said that character traits are all over the place, too, with the corners.
Yeah.
Which means they've already eliminated some.
Oh, definitely.
Right?
100%.
So I just think it's fascinating here the week of, and I guess I was going to wait till probably Thursday to do it. We'll probably do it again on Thursday. But you got to get through, when you have this much conversation, I think you go back to logic at times, right? You got to go back to the most logical things. And I think there's sexy pick, help Trevor Lawrence, receiver. Great. Makes sense. All right, let's be logical about it. Well, the top 3 guys ain't there. Baalke said pretty much not jumping into the top 10. It's too expensive. So that leaves you Brian Thomas. Or do you go to the second round where there could be other guys that can help? What if a Bowers is on the board? What if you can get the best pass rusher or second best pass rusher in the class where you're pretty much the skinniest on your depth chart? And then what about corner, where obviously that makes a lot of sense to many people. And I still think, like, I'll ride with Ronald Darby right now as my starting guy if I had to. But I understand the depth and how you can have – what you look for is upgrade. Like, where's your next guy opposite of Tyson Campbell, at least for now, because you could really be thin at corner in the next year or so. If Tyson doesn't do well and re-sign, I mean, you really might need your next stud corner. Makes some sense. I get it. So I don't want to dismiss, once I did that coming out of the combine, I'm like, why are we going corner like no doubt? But the reason why I say it's not a no doubt corner class is because receiver is a right play, I think, for Trevor. And pass rusher is a more sensible play than people want to admit.
Yeah, listen, Brent, I think you're looking at a situation where realistically you could go 12, 13 picks without a defensive player. So if you're telling me that at 13, 14, you could get your number one defender, who may be your number one player on your board for all we know, we don't know.
They would tell us that.
Well, yeah, for sure. But listen, you need offensive help. I get it. But if you can get the best defensive player in any draft at 13, 14, corner, pass rusher, if you want to bring defensive tackle in at that point, I'm fine with that. But if you can get that type of player where the Jags could potentially trade up and go, you have to be intrigued by that, even though it's not probably going to be sexy.
Yeah, I don't. I think there's a lot on the table here for the Jacksonville Jaguars, depending on how their board lines up. We're going to take a break in a moment. But before we do that, we do have Shock Your Mock Quarterfinals going on. And so, Kim, if you don't mind throwing up the first Shock Your Mock, we got about 90 seconds to talk about this one. We got Brian Thomas on both of them. This is Tax Doctor and Robert Atzert, by the way, squaring off in the first quarterfinal. You can vote on social media, and for those, this is on Twitter, but you can also in YouTube, and we'll go look them up. Left or right is basically what you have to put for mock number one.
It's in the comments.
All right? So you got mock number one, left or right, because we're going to put 4 different mocks up in the quarterfinals today. We'll have 24 hours to let it shake out. We'll do the semifinals tomorrow. But this is all about you guys voting now, and Brian Thomas is the number one guy, so you got to go a little deeper in this draft.
Yeah.
We're not going to influence you, by the way.
Not going to influence you. Although, isn't Blake Fisher the dude that's late to his chores? Isn't that guy? Right?
Yes.
If I'm talking about the wrong dude, sorry, but I'm pretty sure this guy's late to his chores a lot, which means the quarterback gets sacked. Also, not going to influence you, but Dwayne Carter's a genius. He went to Duke.
He did. He went to Duke.
And he's an entrepreneur. No big deal.
Javon Baker, that's a little bit later on the left side, but there's some good things. Blake Fisher's in both of these drafts, and Max Melton love out there as well.
This guy right here got a Bo Lemer, I believe is who this guy was. He got a NIL deal with the mattress firm, so bro just got to lay on mattresses and get paid, so I'm a big fan of him.
Smart guy.
I don't know if he's any good at football, but he's really good at the NIL stuff. So.
So there it is, Shock Your Mock quarterfinals. This is our first matchup between Robert Atzert on the right and Tax Doctor on the left. And basically, you just say quarterfinal number one, left or right, if you want to do it on the YouTube chat or anywhere else you're doing it. But we do actually have a poll up on Twitter that you can vote just left or right.
It's easier
That's
that way.
the easiest way we're doing it. We haven't quite figured out how to do this, but we've already got like 60 votes on Twitter, so we're good. But jump in here as well. Just be a little specific if you can, because we're going to throw 3 other matchups coming up here in the next little bit on the show. So let's take a break here on the Brent Austin Show, Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. Draft week is here. What was the best thing coming out of the weekend? I know what I have. I wonder what Casey has. There's really a lot going on this weekend. The golf world might have had a better week than Masters week.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, it's just unbelievable what was going on, especially if you like local golf. We won't spend too much time talking about it, but we will at least add to that part of it. And a lot of NFL discussion, including the 7-round mock draft. What do people think the Jaguars are going to end up with? What do people think their needs are? And some nuggets from Adam Schefter all on the way on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network, on ActionNewsJax.com, and the Action News Jax app. It's a new logo, new branding, but with Bold City Heating and Air, it's an old school approach. One of the few locally owned and operated air conditioning businesses left in Jacksonville. And with that comes the perks we miss in the big business world. It's every customer counts kind of service, from when these trucks have pulled up to my home over the last couple of years and when they pull into your driveway as well. From communication to pricing to the actual service, everyone at Bold City Heating and Air cares about you. You know who's coming to your house. You know they will be well trained. and they will respect your home. Air conditioning convenience at BoldCityAC.com. The folks at Bold City Heating and Air also know your AC unit is important and can be a big expense. That's why they have financing to help. No payments, no interest for 12 months on new systems. $50 off any repairs. Stay safe, stay comfortable with Bold City Heating and Air at BoldCityAC.com. Homegrown in your hometown. Bold City Heating and Air.
Do you have ugly concrete around your home or business? Are you tired of concrete that is cracked, stained, or just plain ugly? Spartan Coatings' range of products provides a surface that is non-porous, easy to clean, antibacterial, and slip-resistant, all with superior durability.
Living in Florida nearly my whole life, I know the toll our weather can take on a garage floor. That's why I had Matt and the crew from Spartan Coatings transform this space. And the best part, they did it in one day.
It was a professional process from step one. The polyurea and polyaspartic system provides superior flexibility, is 4 times stronger than epoxy coatings, and will withstand temperatures high and low. Plus, it comes with a 20-year warranty. Whether it's a garage floor, patio, pool deck, driveway, or your interior flooring, Spartan Coatings has you covered. To get started transforming your ugly concrete surfaces, call 904-671-3930 or visit SpartanCoatings.com today for your free quote.
In Northeast Florida, we love hanging out on the back patio, maybe grilling out lunch or dinner with the family, enjoying the good weather, or maybe enjoying the big game on the TV. Or maybe your favorite team in town, the Action Sports Jacks team. This is great, except for when it's really hot or the bugs start coming out. But what if you didn't have to worry about that? Titan Outdoor Solutions will make your outdoor area a comfortable spot any time of the day, any time of the year. This makes too much sense. Titan Outdoor Solutions can give your home an upgrade. Customized pergolas, awnings, controlled shade, even retractable screens. The solution to beating the heat and the bugs and getting more use out of your home is Titan Outdoor Solutions. And this can even help prevent storm damage at your home. Living in Florida and living in your home is already good. Now make it great. Quality products, custom work, locally owned and operated. Visit TitanShuttersAndScreens.com or call 904-484-7580.
Hey everyone, Olivia Tasley here from Action Sports Jacks to tell you all the different ways you can watch our new 24/7 network. 3 easy steps. You don't even need a pen and paper to write it down. Step number 1, download the app. Search Action News Jacks in your app store either on your phone or your smart TV. Then, once you're on the app, click on that little drop-down menu in the upper left-hand corner with the 3 little lines. That'll show you these options, and boom, right here, click Action Sports Jacks 24/7, and you will be brought to our continuous stream channel. That app can be accessed through all these different platforms, whether you have Roku, Fire TV, Smart TV, Apple TV, or Google TV. You can find our app. Now, if you don't have access to the app, don't worry, we still got you covered. We're across all social media platforms from Facebook, Instagram, X, YouTube, Twitch. We have a podcast channel. Plus, check out our short reels on our TikTok. Action Sports Jacks 24/7. It's on all the time and everywhere.
It's the place we party in football season with Jaguars All Access.
Welcome to Spring Sports Brewery, everybody. Say hello to our guest tonight. That is Trevor Lawrence.
You can bring your party or event to Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield any day and any time. Rehearsal dinners, corporate events, birthdays, here at Springs, you can enjoy the inside area and the outside area. Good for any weather, good for any occasion. Watch the games, play the games, shoot some hoops. Beer? Yeah, they have that. Plenty of choices. And sure, this is a brewery, but Strings is also a restaurant, and the food is fantastic. A full menu made from scratch meals. And if you need String Sports Brewery to help with a party at your place, they cater too. Family, beer, food, sports. Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network.
Jacksonville Sharks fighting for a win. They were really struggling out of the gates this year. It's unusual to see a Shark show always so good, and that's a heck of a play.
Look at that.
But they are 0-4 on the season, so rough start to the year for the Jacksonville Sharks.
He got picked.
He got picked on that.
I was about to say that was a dime.
Those two plays that we showed on Action Sports Jax Primetime, 10:30 on Fox 30, 11:30 on CBS 47. Those are two good plays.
Heck of a play. Both of them.
One was for the Sharks, one against the Sharks. Hey, welcome back, everybody. Brent and Austen Show, and that's not Austen Lane. That's Casey Kurtz. You know him from the ESPN 690 days, I would think, and he's our pinch hitter. He was with Austin while I was at the Masters. He does a lot behind the scenes with us as well, so we keep hanging around with Casey. Life good?
Hey, man, we're alive. We're doing it. We're trying our best.
How's the airport scene?
Busy, bro. Busy. I stay over there. I should move over by the airport. I've been over there a lot recently.
You don't know. Are we getting anybody good lately?
No, not really. Just randoms.
Right.
It's Jacksonville, Brent. We did well with golf the other day. Went to RBC Heritage.
Oh, you did go?
Uh-huh.
So you went up to Hilton Head.
Yep, not too bad.
How bad was it? Was Hilton Head traffic?
Oh, it's terrible.
Nuts?
It's terrible. I couldn't believe it. It told me we were like 3.5 miles from the golf course. It said 42 minutes. I was like, you're joking. They weren't joking.
I've played that course before with my father-in-law. It's a cool place. And Hilton Head, we used to go, I think we went like twice when the kids were little. Mm-hmm. Like little. Like 5. This has been a long time. We haven't been back. But Hilton Head's awesome. But Hilton Head, when it's busy,
unbelievable.
Is whoa. Because there's only like one way in and out.
One way in. Yeah, it was terrible. I can't believe that they ran a PGA Tour event in the way that they did. Like, there was like one parking lot as far as I could understand it, and they said, yeah, we'll just park here and like bus people in. And we went on like Tuesday, Wednesday, so I was like, what happens like on Saturdays? Does parking lot get full? They're like, yeah, we just send people away. I'm like, where do they go? So like, I guess be lucky here in Jacksonville if you've ever gone to the Players Championship. Plenty of parking, but holy cow, there's like 50 spots in this lot. They're like, yeah, we just send them somewhere else. So that was just mind-blowing to me.
It is pretty wacky. Brent Martineau, Casey Kurtz, Kim sitting in the Kim corner today. If you don't know, we named the corner a little bit of everything. So Kim's pushing the buttons. We appreciate it. Hamby back on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. He's going to work a little extra this week for us on draft week. So we appreciate his service. That is coming up later in the week. And we have Shock Your Mock Quarterfinals going on. We'll introduce you to the other one in just a moment. We've got a lot of fun stuff happening actually the next couple of weeks here with the new show and new platform, Brent and Austen Show, Action Sports Jax 24/7 Network. We actually, if you really snuck in and took a look today at actionnewsjax.com and our Action News Jax app, we've launched a new show in the morning. So there's a sneak peek for those of you listening. You can check it out again tomorrow. Now, we're still working out some things there, but it looks like things went pretty well. So I'll be telling you more about it in the next couple of days. It's what we call a soft launch here. We're just like, we don't want to push anything until we know it's working full go on this new project. And you can check it out early in the morning. That's just available on actionnewsjax.com and the Action News Jax app here with our 24/7 network. We have a live audience at Best Bet St. Augustine in 2 weeks. That'll be on May 3rd. Got a bunch of giveaways. I'm picking up the T-shirts today. We'll get more giveaway stuff. I'm giving you a Superfecta ticket to the Derby, which is the next day. I'm buying it for you, and you can win big bucks with that Superfecta ticket. Hopefully you give me some if you do win. It's brunch with Brent and Austen. Free brunch as well. Now, that's a limited number of folks that enter the building down there in Best Bet St. Augustine. But we'll continue to talk about that. It'll be 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. On Friday, May 3rd. And it's also Steph's birthday. So if you want to come down and celebrate Steph's birthday, I don't think she's coming. But
well, why would she?
She actually just told me, she's like, yeah, the kids have, like, there's some stuff at school for senior year, like if you got any kind of awards. And I'm like, yeah, I can't go. Like, we're doing a live audience show.
There's
like
brunch and everything.
She's like, well, yeah, you can just, like, you don't have to go. No, like, I got to go. Like, I got to be there. Sorry, kids. Hope you don't win anything.
Wow, that's just the encouragement they're looking for. Hope you don't win anything.
We just want to win ball games.
Are they academic awards?
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
They got a shot?
I don't know. I don't pay attention to that. I just know what they're hitting and
they don't have a shot.
What their earned run average is.
All right, very good.
That's about it.
We move on.
That's my job.
No academic awards then for the Martineau family, but that's okay.
And then also on draft day, we're going to do a different kind. Again, we got Shock Your Mock coming up. Really quarterfinals, fan vote the rest of the week. We need your participation. And we have a little Donato's draft day party.
How about that?
that we're going to give away. And I think what I'm going to do there, you think this makes sense? We're just going to get who. You're going to have to send in the chat and everything I'll put on Twitter, everywhere else, and we'll collect all of them, who they pick. So who's the pick?
All right.
And obviously we're going to probably have more than one winner.
You would think.
Right? So then we put you into a hat, but you win a draft party from Donato's. Like free pizza for you and like a dozen people, really, if you want. And probably try to drop that off to you like Friday night or something.
Really?
Yeah.
That's a heck of a deal.
I can't drop it off on Saturday, so if you want the Saturday party instead, we'll have just delivery.
All right.
Or
so
maybe
Friday
Casey can do it, because I'll pay him $20 to do it.
I'll do it. That's fine. If you're paying, I mean.
But you like the idea of that? I was going to do it first for the winner of the Shock Your Mock, but I just don't know where people live.
Yeah, that's
the problem
a dangerous
with our
game
show
to play.
is like we have no idea. That's the other thing. Like if you're going to win the Donato's draft day party,
you got to be in Jacksonville.
You got to be in Jacksonville. Like even if you're in Columbus, Ohio, where Donato's is and originated, and it's got other locations, like I don't have connections with those other locations. This one's like Mandarin Jack's Beach locations. And while we're at it, Brent 20 is the code if you want to just order Donato's pizza for lunch or dinner, and you can get 20% off your order.
Brent 20.
Brent 20. That's
a good code.
Glenn says, wives never forget that stuff, Brent. Be careful in terms of not going. Well,
Glenn, you've seen this movie before. I mean, Glenn's been here the whole time. He knows.
Been married 25 years this year, Glenn. Steph's fine.
Really?
Yeah.
25 years.
Good. Steph's all good. It's a milestone year for the Martineaus. Like we got high school graduation. We got 25th year anniversary.
Uh-huh.
And then actually my sister is turning 50.
Really?
Yeah. So, and Steph's dad turned 90. Big year, 2024.
Yeah. What's the plans for the 25th, Brent? I'm scared to ask because I've known what your plans have been for like birthdays and Valentine's days before. I don't even think you've bought a card since I've known you the last 5 years. So I will ask, somewhat scared, what's the plan?
Training camp.
There's no plan. Gotcha. All right.
July 31st.
That's your anniversary? That's Amanda's birthday. I think we've done this before.
Yeah, it's Olivia's birthday, too.
That's right.
I once ran into
It's
Olivia.
Brian Middleton's birthday also.
His birthday's the 31st?
Yes.
I once ran into Olivia on my anniversary. We're at the same restaurant. So she was celebrating her birthday with her friends, and we were celebrating our
Did you guys just push the tables together?
No, we did not.
No, okay. All right.
I don't think she wanted that, nor probably did I.
That's fair.
Quite frankly.
That's fair.
Brent Martineau, Casey Kurtz. Hey, let's get, should we get Shock Your Mock number 2 up? Well, don't do it yet, because I got to tweet it out.
That's one heck of a tease.
Yeah, don't do it yet, because I'm not ready for it.
Okay.
I gotta do all this stuff.
Yeah.
I need an assistant.
Yeah, that's tough.
I really
Sorry
do.
about that.
Need an assistant in a lot of different ways. 40 for you, Glenn. Married 40 years. Good for you. My life goal.
I was going to bring this up. I wasn't sure if I remembered it correctly, though.
I have basically one life goal.
Okay.
Now, like I'm sure I had others in the past.
Certain you would think.
But I have one life goal, and that is to get to 50 years of marriage.
25 more.
Yeah, like I feel pretty good about it. But, I mean, things change.
So you're talking 2049?
Is that what the year is? I'd be like,
25.
all I know is I'd be like 72. And so that's why it's part of my life goal. It'd be great to be married for 50 years. But also, if I make it to 72, I figure I could at least enjoy a handful of years of retirement.
Oh, definitely.
Or something like that. So at least I get there.
Maybe not you, but yeah, most people.
Which means I'm living to a pretty good, decent age and hopefully good health and all that stuff. And all these other things I've accomplished, like kids are graduated, maybe they get married, maybe they have grandkids or kids, and we have grandkids, something like that. But like those other parts of life that probably tick off.
Mm-hmm.
So really, it's a very simplistic goal for me right now for the rest of my life. Just hang on for another 25 years. Or Steph, you hang on.
Yeah, I mean, the real one's going to be with Steph because you're definitely not that easy of a dude to be married to, I have a feeling. Steph, it feels like she handles all of the real important things. You just kind of show up and say, woohoo, Jaguars on a radio, or not a radio, a TV and a stream for the last 10 years or so. So I would say Steph's doing the real heavy lifting, and you're just kind of goofing around talking about football.
Do you ever think about that?
What?
Like, do you have a life goal? Gee, you're too young.
No.
Kim? See if she knows how to turn the mic on.
Yeah.
You got a life goal? You've been married now for what? Almost a decade, Joel?
10 years, yeah.
Yeah, see that? That's pretty good by me. Got a kid?
Yeah, just trying to survive toddlerhood.
Yeah, that's a good life goal at your age.
Yeah.
Glenn says he got married when he was 7. Don't worry. People say I got married when I was like 12, Glenn, so I get it. Yeah, I don't know. I wonder what people's, like, I never really think about that until, like, recently I thought, I was like, all right, yeah, this is it. I just need one goal.
Yeah.
Like, my life goal isn't to be, like, a millionaire or anything like that. Like,
No,
that's cool. Like, I
it's a
don't
good
think
one,
that's
though.
going to happen.
Probably not.
I think we're probably too late in the game for that, unless just, like, a lottery ticket comes along.
Fingers crossed.
So
Crypto hits.
crypto would have to really, really hit.
Huh.
So we'll see. But that's it. Think about it. You got years to come.
Do I?
Well, when I was your age, I probably would have had like 6 life goals. That's my point. I think it narrows.
Yeah, I'm extremely unmotivated for the most part, so there's not really a lot I got locking in here.
Yeah, you got to have a little ambition, man. You got to set the goals. Ambition's important here.
Yeah, if you had asked me 2 years ago, I would have said something stupid. Now I'm just like, I'm trying to get through the day.
Yeah.
Every day. Like, it's just a mess.
Well, eventually you get there. Like every age group just tries to get through the day, I think.
I've been there. I'm still there. And I don't really see myself getting out of that situation. Just wake up every day hoping to get to the next one. But, you know, we try.
Josh says, can we stop talking about lives? Should we still trade up for a receiver?
Oh.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
Should still trade up for a receiver. That's your life goal, Josh. I agree.
Yeah, that could be Trent Baalke's at least somewhat short-term life goal. Brent, I've got to tell you this. You were asking about what I've been up to. The other day, we'll call it Friday, I'm standing, and don't get this twisted, but I'm standing on the street corner in downtown Jacksonville. I know it doesn't sound good. I was outside the Jumbo Shrimp. I was getting some autographs, right? No big deal. That's what anybody else would do if you were in my position, trying to make a couple of bucks. No big deal. But as you know, the baseball stadium's right there. Across the parking lot, well, that's, the stadium. And there's a dude kind of walking in the direction that I'm standing in. And I was like, why does this guy look familiar? Walks right up next to me. I'm like, is that Trent Baalke going for a walk in downtown Jacksonville? Well, you bet it was. Said, hey, Trent, what's up? He said, what up? He goes on his way. About 2 hours later, it had to be, he walked around all of Jacksonville. So if you were in downtown Jacksonville Friday and there's a dude in a white shirt like running or walking, that was Trent. Point of the story. Comes back, I said, Trent, what's the deal? Receiver, corner, what's the plan here?
You did ask him that?
Yeah, I swear. I'm not kidding. Because he asked me, what are you doing? You've been here for like 3 hours. I'm like,
Did
bro,
he
I'm
really
trying to
ask you that?
Yeah, I was like, bro, I'm
That's
trying to make
awesome.
$5 trying to get this dude to sign some baseball cards. Like,
By the way, Trent is not big a small talk guy, so I'm surprised he
we're
asked.
small talking.
That's
We're
pretty
small
wild.
talking now. And he told me, and I quote, if I knew that information, I'd go to Vegas and be a very rich man. And I said, I feel like you should know, or at least have some idea. Trent. He's like, And then he started talking about me. I was like, all right, that's it. So I tried, Brent. I tried to get all the information that I could, but that's what I got.
So he entertained it, though.
He stopped. We talked for like 2 minutes after that as well. He asked me why I was a loser trying to get autographs, baseball cards. It was great.
So he did ask you what you're doing?
Yes, for real. He said, why? And I said, try to pay my bills, dog. I know it doesn't look like it, but trust me, this is what you got to do. Times are tough.
That is pretty wild.
Yep.
I'm stunned by the fact that
This is all real. I'm not making this up. I promise you this happened.
that is a great story. Like, why'd you bury that lead? That's a great story. First of all,
I didn't really get an info.
I'm stunned by the fact that you actually asked him a question about, like, the directed question.
Why wouldn't I?
I don't know. I just thought, like, I could see you saying you would, but you really didn't.
I can call somebody else that was there.
No,
It
I
definitely
believe
happened.
you. I believe you. But I'm just surprised. I wouldn't say you would have done it. I'm more stunned that Trent Baalke would stop
Entertained
and
stopped, had a conversation.
and have a conversation.
Yep. Real.
Like, it's just not his MO. I think that's why Baalke gets a bad rap.
Very personable in this moment.
You have a new a liking now for Trent Baalke, is what you're saying.
I mean, it was fine. I mean, I wish you would have said something. But,
You wish he would have told you.
or like
He had no idea 3 days later you were going on a show.
I know, you had no clue. I had no clue. No, I just steered me the other way. He's like, we're looking at everything. I'm like, oh, okay, it's not going to be one of those two. But yeah, no, I got nothing out of it. But yeah, shout out Trent. He's getting his work in downtown Jacksonville.
He's in good shape.
Bro, I'm telling you, this is more on me than him. Bro, he passed me and came back like 2.5 hours later. He had to have walked to, Lake City and back. Like, there's not enough places he could have gone, but he was working hard. So.
Wow, that's pretty interesting.
Yep.
Now you got me on a story idea. We'll just go. Can we go for a walk
Where
with
does
Trent?
Trent go? Yeah. Don't tell him you heard it here. But
Hey, you got to get a scoop. So I'm sure you're not the only person you saw him. I
Oh,
wonder
you
if
would
you're
think.
the only person he stopped and talked to.
hey, you never
Maybe
know.
that's why the walk was so long.
That's true. Everyone was asking the same question as me. Listen, I figured I had to. Brent, he's walking by. I was standing there and I was like, what would Brent do in this situation? And I was like, I know. Ask us a dumb question and see if we can get an answer.
Did you really say that?
No.
Did you really? You need a wristband?
Nah, I just...
WWBD?
Yeah, what would Brent do? That's actually a good one. I should write that on here. I already got a couple of wristbands.
90 feet with Trent.
That's a good one.
By the way, Daniel Kilkenny talking about Smoot. He's not even under contract, man. Like, he's a free agent.
Daniel Kilkenny still looking for a Super Bowl hat.
We still owe him a Super Bowl hat?
I think it's on Aaron's desk. You might
Oh,
wanna
my gosh.
Go see if you can talk to him.
Sorry, Kilkenny. I not controlled the mailing department. Maybe I should have. That is a great story, by the way. That's unbelievable that Baalke stopped and talked to you and was interested in what you were doing.
Yep. It's real.
I love it.
Yeah. I wish I would have had Jack stuff.
Now,
I would have got him all.
I was going to say, would you have got him if you had Jag stuff? Like, is there anything to that? Like, why?
I'm not in position not to get people at this point. So if you walk by and you're semi-famous, I got something for you.
Like, why would you get Baalke? Like, seriously, what could that be? And I'm not saying just Baalke. So if they win a Super Bowl or something, would it then
Someone
be
will
worth
buy it.
something?
Absolutely.
What is this here? Justin Lewis from the Florida Times Union. Okay, cool. Hey, that's good. We can give a little shout out to Justin Lewis and Florida Times Union as well.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I thought you found something for us, Kim. Investigative reporting.
I was like, dang,
because
someone
obviously
saw that.
Kurt's tried, but he just didn't land anything.
I did not
no
land
details.
a single thing. Nope, not
Nothing
at all.
juicy.
Not even a little bit. Actually, my main problem was I had a baseball in my pocket. I was like, should I get Trent on a baseball? And I was like, I need Max Meyer.
All right. Hey, before we're going to get into actually the Trent and Pederson thing, because it's something we didn't talk about Friday, and I think it's a fascinating part of this process, and that's coming up. But before we do that, best thing you saw this weekend? There's a lot going on this weekend. Locally, there was a ton going on. But what do you think? I mean, NBA playoffs, NHL playoffs. Locally, you had the River City Rumble. Obviously, the golf world was crazy this weekend with some local influence, which is really where the Miles Russell thing, which I think we'll probably talk about a little bit more. Miles Russell stuff was fantastic this weekend. If you don't know, he's a 15-year-old kid. We've been following him since he was 3 years old, basically. But really, when he got to 7, 8, 9, went to the drive, chip, and putt. We've done stories on him. Super nice family. Very nice kid, quiet kid, little kid. And now he's like a big star on the tour. I mean, in the golf world. He's breaking Tiger Woods kind of records. He's breaking records that we don't even know exist. Like first kid to go top 25 or the youngest to go top 25 on a Korn Ferry tour. They think since 1983 at least. They don't even know how far it goes back.
Crazy.
So, I mean, those are the kind of things that he's doing. Meanwhile, Scottie Scheffler in the golf world is doing things Tiger Woods did in like 2007, 8, 2001, 2003. Like, you got to go back to then. Nelly Korda on the women's side. By the way, Austin Kim, who lives in St. Augustine, finished 30th in that major championship. So she had a nice debut in a major. I mean, and Billy Horschel won. I didn't even know there was a side event going on in the PGA Tour.
Yep. Yeah,
this was a better week for golf than the Masters week.
Yeah, that was going to be my answer as a whole for golf. I'll tell you the best thing. I definitely was not the best thing was when the Heat were down 91-59 after three quarters. Hey, try.
I saw, but
they're down 30,
and so the Bucks Pacers game was like that too.
Yeah, well, at least that would. Yeah, that was actually worse because Giannis didn't play. But that was all Dame Lillard. Like these dudes just stink. Like the Heat without Jimmy Butler have no business being in the NBA. They should be in like college basketball. It's terrible. But the golf is where I was going to go. Not even so much Scheffler. Like Scheffler's the best. Like here's the thing. He didn't even practice, Brent. He wasn't even there on Tuesday and showed up late Wednesday. Found like 10 autographs total. It was a disaster. But the point is he doesn't even practice anymore. He just like beats everybody and doesn't even practice. So that's just one thing. Nelly Korda's goated 5 in a row. She's like just, again, the best. Like you have the two best on earth, and they just cannot be stopped right now in men's and women's golf. And then, obviously, the Korn Ferry thing was just
I still don't have an answer, and we know people with the Korn Ferry Tour, and I know they got more track. But I think the Miles Russell thing, what I was surprised by, because we know Miles, and we knew what was going on, and we're like, oh, that's really cool. But what happened, I was starting to get ESPN alerts about Miles Russell. He's like second or third on their headlines, and he probably was for CBS Sports and other ones that you go visit. Mm-hmm. This was a talker like around the globe. You had all the people like the Barstool people, the other folks. I mean, this was a huge deal. This is a kid that already has... He's already signed by TaylorMade.
Yeah.
He's like a star in the making. And the funny thing about him is he is as mild-mannered as they come. Like, he is not like, look at me kind of kid.
Yeah.
His family's really cool. Like, they even downplay how good of a player he is in my conversations with them. And now he gets an invite automatically to Texas. They're on their way to Texas today to play in the next Corn Ferry Tour
So
event.
he is going to play.
He is going to play. He had a stretch of holes where he went 5 over and 4 holes, I think it was, or 5 over and 4 holes. Maybe it was 4 over and 3 holes. If he didn't have that stretch, he might have won the golf tournament.
Yeah.
And he bounced back from that, shot 66 twice. It was just incredible playing.
Bro's 15.
15, and look at him. He's not like us. When we see kids these days that are really good in sports, we think of physical specimens, right? At 15, it looks like a grown. He looks like a kid.
He does.
He weighs like 120 pounds.
That's definitely a child.
Like me.
There's no question.
He hits it 280 off the tee, which isn't like, I mean, it's long, but by pro standards, it's not long.
It's pretty good for a child.
Which means,
Brent?
yeah, which means this part of his game is unbelievable.
I mean, that's pretty impressive right there. I couldn't do that.
He made 2 eagles on like the front 9, I think, on Saturday or something, or Friday it was. Maybe Friday it was.
Unbelievable.
It was really a fun story to follow. And again, like this, I love this because local sports, this is what we do. Like, we cover kids like this, and then you see them doing well down the road. And I think we're just at the beginning of this. I mean, he looks like he's going to be a stud for years to come. Like, yeah. on, and you just don't know, right? I said this last night on TV. When you label kids, like we'll see kids on the baseball diamond, softball fields, the football fields on Friday nights, and you're like, oh, this kid's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. Well, you don't know how that manifests. Like, well, you can be good at 12 and not be good at 16.
Right.
You can be good at 14 but not be good at 20. You can have injuries or things like that or other. It's very rare that you see a kid at like 8 or 9 and then 12, 13, and people are talking about him at 14, 15, and then he goes and has the opportunity to do this to just show you how good he really is.
Yeah.
Like, this stuff's legit, because a guy like Scott Schroeder at UNF will tell us, it's like Nick Gabrowczyk who plays for them, their swing speed, the ball speed, the measurable stuff. Remember TPC Sawgrass? He was walking with Scotty Scheffler, and Scheffler's like, hey, how fast do you swing it? Mm-hmm. And I think he said like 115. He's like, 115 at 15 years old? Like, he was like, yeah, really? And you're like, oh, that's real deal stuff, you know? So it's a cool story, and it's going to be one to follow. And I think the nice part of this is you kind of feel like we know them a little bit already, and they're good folks. Like, it'll be a cool story to root for. And he's not the only stud golfer around here at that level. I keep telling people this. There are like 4 junior golfers at 15, 16 years old that are the top 16 golfers in the country in that age group. And they all live here. I thought he handled the mic part of it very well. He even said, listen, this might last a week. There are younger golfers that are really good. Yeah. Like, it's just the way the sport is now, which is really true.
Yeah, he gets it.
So anyway, Miles Russell was really cool. Sports World was really cool. If you like local sports, River City Rumble was fun. Jacksonville Iceman go 1-1. Unfortunately, they lost in overtime yesterday, so the scene shifts down to the Everblades. We'll actually check in with the Iceman a little bit later and also have a report from Stuart Weber. Stuart Weber caught up with Chris Hayes, the JU Dolphins coach. So we got a lot going on. Let's take a break. When we come back, we will share quarterfinal number 2 and Shock Your Mock, but also Trent Baalke, Doug Pederson. How important is this relationship? Where is it at right now? Is it as good as your little conversation here in downtown Jacksonville?
I don't know, Ma's pretty great.
Yeah. We'll be right back. I like to say everybody has a story, and sometimes we're a part of other people's stories. That's the case here at Nimnicht Buick GMC. My family and the Nimnicht family. We've purchased 6 different vehicles from Nimnicht Buick GMC. Maybe you're in the market for a truck. Well, let me tell you about the GMC Sierra. I absolutely love mine. I've had a couple of these. This one's a 2020, but right now on 2024 GMC Sierras here at Nimnicht Buick GMC, there's special financing. A year ago, we purchased a GMC Terrain for the kids. Financing rates as low as 0.9% for eligible buyers on Terrains and no payments for 90 days. Looking for used instead of new? Buy a used car with the Car Bravo program. Nimnicht Buick GMC certifies all makes and models. Let the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville take care of you and your family. Come on out and see the showroom, meet the fantastic people, or shop online at nimnichtbuickgmc.com. Nimnicht, your friends in the car business since 1941. GMC, we are professional grade.
What started out as better people, better projects just keeps getting, well, better. That's Better Exterior Solutions, ready to help you create a better outdoor experience. Check this out. Motorized pergolas are the latest in technology to transform your outdoor space. Beautiful day? Let the sun shine through. Summer rainstorm? These pergola systems close automatically to keep the weather out. From residential to commercial uses, Better Exterior Solutions has products customized to meet virtually any existing architectural structure. With retractable awnings, screens, and hurricane shutters too, if you want unparalleled quality and expertise, you need Better Exterior Solutions. Get a free estimate by visiting betterexteriors.com or calling 904-902-4999. Better Exterior Solutions. Experience better.
It's the fishing tournament everyone wants to get in, and it's time for you to register. More than 650 boats entered last summer in the Daly's Old School Kingfish Shootout presented by Yellowfin. Mark the calendar now, June 8th. This is fun for the entire family, and everyone has a chance to win big. Limited boundaries, no bait buying, no checkout. Cash prizes for the top 25 places, cash prizes for the top 10 lady anglers, and prizes for the top 15 junior anglers. The grand prize, this Yellowfin Bay boat with a 200 horsepower Yamaha and a Meritrail trailer. The value, over $100,000. It's the Daly's Old School Kingfish Shootout. Early entry until the end of May is open and $250. If you don't catch the big one, don't worry. Just catch any size kingfish and have a chance to win $10,000 with the Nimnicht Lucky Ticket. OldSchoolKingfish.com. Register early until May 31st at OldSchoolKingfish.com.
When you think sports, you think Action Sports Jacks, the official station of the Jaguars, on location for every game. But the most experienced team in town doesn't stop there. From high school football to the big events in the area, Action Sports Jacks is always on. Now, we take that to a new level. Action Sports Jacks 24/7 is around-the-clock coverage of the teams you love and the moments you can't miss. The best local sports in Jacksonville on Action Sports Jacks 24/7.
Streaming right now on Action News Jax.
Let's get your morning started.
It's local.
Take a look at this surprising video.
It's breaking. It's weather 24/7.
I gotta keep you guys safe.
It's original.
More trucks, more food.
It's entertaining. Now it's new and free. Everywhere, anytime. Stream Action News Jax wherever you watch.
Discover how good your water can be with a new Kinetico softener and drinking water system. Kinetico's twin tank, non-electric softeners are the most efficient softeners available, and their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We know that at our home. You can find out as well. Right now, you can save $1,000 or more when you bundle the Kinetico Premier Softener with a Kinetico K5 drinking water system. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? Well, CGC will find out and recommend the appropriate Kinetico water treatment solutions to improve it. The higher your water score, the better your water. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. That's 904-552-1242, cgcwater.com. Financing options are available with approved credit. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing are proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm a proud customer of CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Kinetico dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austen Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
All right, so this video we showed going to break was Miles Russell when he was 3 years old, and that kid just pulled the ball out of the hole there. So look at him, 3 years old.
That's crazy.
So it was so great. We were at a clinic. We weren't doing anything. Look, you see, we got Miles on his hat. You see, like the name tag. Like the story about that. If you go way back, we're at some clinic, so we had no idea who the kid was or whatever. It's just like this cute kid, like swinging out of a sand trap. and he made
Drills
it.
yeah.
And so we have this video, and so ever since we've been doing all these stories, we always go back to that video, which is kind of fun. And then I played him for a Snickers and lost on like drive, chip, and putt.
Nice.
The thing that I remember about him there is that his hands, like again, he was like 8 years old, and we're playing. I think this was I don't know where we did that. I don't know if we did it at like Marshall Landing or something like that. But so it's like he's chipping from like these tight lies just around the practice green, and his hands were unbelievable. Like this swing at 8 years old, he's just. I mean, he looked like Phil Mickelson. Just like hitting these chip shots wherever he wanted to hit them. That was the best part of his game, like going into that drive, chip, and putt, because he was so tiny. The drive part, he wasn't going to get way out there. And he never won the drive, chip, and putt. I think he finished second.
Still good.
Well, I know. It's still fine. And the game just keeps getting better and better. So really cool stuff with Miles Russell. Brent Martineau, Casey Kurtz, Brent and Austin show. Austin in Vegas, actually going out there today. We'll check in the remainder of the week from Vegas. Casey will join us tomorrow. Hamby back Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We'll be live at the stadium for the draft starting at 10 o'clock in the morning on Thursday. It goes all the way, really be there live all day Thursday and probably most of the day Friday. I think we're going to be at Strings on Friday. I haven't told them yet, but I think we're going to go Strings. So if you want to go celebrate the draft or drown your sorrows.
Yeah, it could be both.
See you at Strings on Friday, 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. as we continue to take you on the road to all over the place in Jacksonville. And again, May 3rd coming up, live audience with giveaways, Best Bet St. Augustine, so you don't want to miss that as well. Where do you see Trent Baalke, Doug Pederson's relationship at this point? Because technically it's like a 2-year relationship. Yeah. Remember, Doug got hired in February of 2022, but it's their third draft together. So it feels like it's 3 years in, but they're really like 2 calendar years in.
Right.
And going on their third season.
Yeah.
And a lot of people question this relationship coming out of this past year. We wondered what the relationship could be like anyway. Trent Baalke, Doug Pederson, arranged marriage going back to 2022. I don't hear any rumblings about a bad relationship coming out of that building.
Yeah, no, I mean, it feels like from the outside looking in that they're solid, strong together in a best way I can put it. I mean, I feel like, yeah, the collapse was terrible. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that it was good, but what I am saying is it feels like for a couple years in free agency, they've made some good decisions. Christian Kirk, good decision. Like they've made a lot of good decisions. The decisions that need to, I think, improve a little bit are what they do in this draft here. Because last year, what they did in the draft, whether you want to say it was collectively, more Trent, more Doug, whatever, I don't care. The point is they kind of misread where they were as a team. And the collapse kind of stamped that point home because you drafted guys that at the end you couldn't even play or get on the field because, one, you weren't sure what you were going to get, or two, you just couldn't make it work. So I think, again, in free agency, you've done some good things. Not everything's been perfect, but I think when you talk about Eric Armstead, that's a huge win without even playing football. When you talk about Mitch Morse, that's a win without even playing football. So now you just have to go into this draft and fill those needs and do a good job. But for the most part, Brent, I think it's been all right, and it feels like they're strong and together.
Yeah, I kind of sense that too. Kim's going to give shout out to everybody in Jacksonville. You better be careful about which media people you're giving a shout out to here and pulling tweets, Kim. Just to let you know, that's all right. Clayton Freeman, we like him. We like all media, but we just got to make sure.
I'm not going to say anything because I had something I was going to say, but I forgot.
She's going with the Florida Times Union. That's okay.
That's good.
I'm a little nervous, though. Kim doesn't live in our sports world. She might just pull something from competition.
Yeah.
I get a little nervous about that stuff.
Yeah, I'm not going to say anything. I'll get us canceled like we used to do back in the day, Brent. I got nothing to say.
Hey, 10 a.m. Casey's better than 3 p.m. Casey, apparently.
Hey!
Come on, Jack. There you go.
Don't get used to 10 a.m. Casey. He's not going to be here very much.
It's good to have Casey in here. But, Kim, I will say this. You might be able to find a soundbite from Doug from last Friday still in the folder somewhere about his relationship with Trent Baalke. I didn't give you a heads up on that in the break. It's okay if we don't get to it because I can pretty much paraphrase it. But it was interesting when I asked the question about their relationship, their trust. Doug kind of and Trent, they kind of looked at each other and like laughed a little bit. Almost like they had heard the noise of coming out of the season. You know how I think about it. I think the noise coming out of the season was not to say manufactured, but a little bit assumed because collapse, nobody's sitting there talking. I think one of the Jags' biggest missteps of the offseason was not having Doug Pederson, Trent Baalke on Wednesday after the season, even after Doug had already talked on Monday. Come out there and be like, listen, this sucked. We love you, fans. This ain't happening again. Like, this won't happen.
It was bad.
Not on our watch. Like, we're figuring out why. We're having meetings to figure out why. How do we put an end to it? We're going to put a good plan together. We're still on the same page. Instead, it was Doug, and then all of a sudden they fired Mike Caldwell right after, and then it took 3 weeks for Trent to get out there. And in that interim, all these rumors started to kind of circulate, and people started to throw stuff out there. Well, everybody was pissed off.
Yeah.
So that's where this, but I just don't sense any of that, at least now. You never know what's going on in the underbelly. And toxicity exists in an organization. And sure, can you get into it a little bit when things go wrong? And when you lose 5 out of 6 and you have an epic collapse? I bet there are some hot moments. There better have been.
There's no doubt. I mean, Brent, if you think about it, outside of, and again, it was terrible. Don't get me wrong. It's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is outside of, I guess, if you want to say when they lost to Cincinnati, right? It all went downhill from there. Sure, I get it. But outside of that little 6-week stretch and, the week after where nobody talked, which was bad, don't get me wrong. Everything else in like the Doug Pederson era of Jags football was great. Like, I mean, it didn't start fantastic, don't get me wrong, but they figured it out, boom, boom, boom. Then they're in the playoffs. They win a game somehow. And they started the season well last year, and it fell apart. It spiraled on them. It's like in Clash Royale when you're playing and you have no like power left and your opponent's just beating the heck out of your towers. I don't know if you play Clash Royale.
No.
It's a fun game
but
that you play sometime.
I can kind of follow.
Yeah, you get the idea. You just can't stop what's happening, and that's what it felt like happened at the end of the season last year. They would get close at times. It felt like, Cincinnati, they should have won that football game, but they just couldn't, right? Cleveland, you probably shouldn't have played the way you did. Ravens, it was close for a time, although it really doesn't feel like it. And then the Bucs was terrible, and then you know what happens from there. But outside of that little stretch, they've done a lot of good for the Jags. They've done a lot of good together, and it's just how do you pretty much erase that 6-week stretch, figure it out, and I think one way to do that is stay together, be united on that same page, the trust and all that stuff you're talking about. I think that's a big part of it, and it feels like they should still have it and use the 6-week debacle as a rallying cry, if you will.
Yeah, I think I think you hit on a lot of things that are important there. Outside of this 6 weeks and maybe even roll over a few weeks after, so say a 2-month span, which it really didn't spiral out of control until really Tennessee week, because you could say injuries, you still had a chance. So really it was about a month time. After Carolina, the Tennessee loss, the few weeks after, like this relationship has gone pretty well. They've rebuilt the roster. I continue to say the roster is not bad. Is it good enough? Have they done everything right? No. That's clear because, well, they've been 9-8 the last 2 years. But they flipped the script in Jacksonville. Now they've got to set the new standard. I believe that if Doug had an issue, I think he's the heavy guy here. Even though, obviously, there's an affinity from Schott and Tony Khan for Trent Baalke, which is what it is. Mm-hmm. But I still think if Doug Pederson didn't like what was going on in that building, he could easily be the heavy and say, what are we doing? He's making 3 times as much as Trent Baalke. Right. He's got the Lombardi trophy. And we don't see anything like that. Now, again, are there disagreements? Absolutely. There's probably disagreements on their coaching staff. Doesn't mean they're going to go fire everybody and not get along. That's just the nature of the business. But I think overall these guys have looked pretty linked. I think they look like they're on the same page. We can see the kind of players they're getting, which means they're on the same page with. And it feels like the nature of my question was, how much more input does Doug have? Because that seemed to be something that was a little bit of a hiccup in Philadelphia for Doug. Now, Doug probably didn't have a ton of input in year one. He had just walked in February. Right?
And they had a plan.
And they had a plan. Yeah. You go 12 to 18 months of scouting. Head coach isn't just going to come in, boom, say, hey, do this. Unless you're probably Urban Meyer, which maybe that's the way that went down. Yeah. But I'm sure Doug had influence, but I'm not sure he had. I felt like that was Trent Baalke's draft. I think Doug probably has more and more influence of what we need, right? What do we have to get? And I still think that could be take Luke Fortner. I still don't know whose pick that was.
Right.
Was that the coaching staff, Doug and Phil Rauscher, that really believed and said, hey, we think this guy is the guy? So therefore Trent's like, well, you told me to take him.
Right.
And you're wrong. Or was it Trent and the coaches are like, this is what you gave us? Those are the things that kind of can manifest when you miss and they snowball and they become bigger problems. I would say even with the Jags misses, I don't sense problems. I sense that they figured it out, ironed it out, had their discussions, replaced. I mean, whoever's fault it was on the Fortner playing for 2 years and not working, they remedied it by saying, okay, we admit mistake. We're going to go get Mitch Morrison free agency.
Right.
I think that's a big boy thing. That's not easy to do. That doesn't happen all the time in this league. People have big egos.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And I think if you look back at the draft last year, I think it tells you that Doug probably had more input definitely than the year before because look at the picks they made, right? Now, obviously offensive line, that's kind of a Trent thing as well, but you could look at that for a lot of reasons why that ended up making sense. You weren't going to keep Jawan Taylor, all of those things. But then the next two picks you made, well, when you see a tight end in the second round, you go, oh, okay, that could have been Doug Pederson all day. And then you look at running back in the third round, and that could have been either or both, saying we need to get more physical, we need to get those tough yards. That collectively, if you're grading it right now, you say that didn't work. As a whole, those three picks. We might say something else a year from now if, Brent Strange plays, Tank Bigsby plays, whatever. But I think you'll know and have a good feel about that in the draft this year when you're talking about all of the offensive players that may go before the Jags get to pick. So then if they go then pick an offensive player and you're getting the 13th or 14th offensive player in the draft, that might say something about who's making the pick, what they think, versus if they go defensive player and try to help out that, knowing you can get a better one.
Well, Glenn brings up the Green Bay situation. That's an interesting one. Yeah, I think these guys develop relationships. And keep in mind, in the middle of all that Green Bay situation between head coach and GM, quietly, they've done a pretty nice job of replenishing their roster. And also they navigated the whole Aaron Rodgers thing, which is really tricky. Really can take sides, right? And they seem like they're on the same page. Listen, it is important. The one thing, even in when it wasn't going well, it looked like a guy like Gus Bradley and Dave Caldwell were on the same page right until the end. And I think the Jags, when they got Coughlin in here and Caldwell and Marone, at least in that year one, looked like it went on the same page. And then you had some splintering because of an Aaron Rodgers situation. It was different. We had the Ramsey, the Jan, the everything else, and then you started to see it break away, and that becomes problematic. Coach, front office, everything else.
I think, though, the Green Bay situation, you can go, whether this is true or not, but you can say if you're those two guys, be like, yeah, Aaron Rodgers was the problem here. And look at us, we're on the same page. We're going to make this work without Aaron Rodgers, whatever.
That's right.
And I think it's easy to portray that front now, whether you like the dude or not, because that this is what we need to do. The Jags, I mean...
But you could easily have seen like LaFleur being like, I need Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. But obviously who knows where that relationship actually was, whether LaFleur, thought he was... Well, I mean, they drafted Jordan Love. They wanted to play.
No, I think I think it worked out that they both were like, okay, see Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, they had that...
There was no split.
That thing that you could rally behind, where in Jacksonville, luckily you don't have that disgruntled player right now, but you bring up those other points of a Jalen Ramsey. That could have been something where, if one person wanted to do something and someone wanted to do the other, then it's tougher, but you could have at least rallied around between we both made this decision and we're strong because of it, because we want people to want to be here.
Yeah, so, I mean? Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. In fact, it's got me thinking, is there a move that could split the coaching staff versus the GM and front office? And I say that because I'm not even sure there's a move out there. They just did Josh Allen. We're all in agreement. Coaches, I want a really good player. Okay, front office gets the job done. Trevor Lawrence. It seems like the whole organization is on the Trevor Lawrence page.
That would be the only move, to your point. And I'm not saying that's a move that they're going to, do, but that would be one where I think the only way that it would be split between the two if Trent's like, let's get this done now, and Doug says, I need to see more. I think that's the only really situation you've got if that were to ever come up.
Yeah, like, I don't want to just make it that easy, but Trevor seems like that's not going to be the one. They all love him. Everybody loves him. Everybody sees the talent. Everybody wants to keep him. They're going forward. I mean, that can definitely be a sticking point. Heck, it might have been a LaFleur and Rodgers sticking point, and then the GM kind of came around on LaFleur's side eventually. Like, you just don't know how that transpired behind closed doors. You only know the reports and what people kind of guess and think. That's not going to be the case here. I mean, Trent Baalke looks like he's motivated to get the Trevor deal done. Shad Khan, I've said this for months and now years, I think he can't wait to pay Trevor Lawrence. I think he has a lot of admiration for him and feels like he owes a lot to him, even based off just the urban stuff and getting through that. So I think that's a big part of it. I don't know if there's I think it just comes down to winning and losing. Like, at the end of the day, if you disappoint, now you start pointing fingers. That's the nature of the NFL. You point fingers when you win and lose, or when you lose. And if things go wrong this year, well, then there's going to be more of a divide. There was plenty of conversation that Trent didn't like the Press Taylor stuff. And now, a couple months later, I'm not sure I disagree with him. Not because of Press Taylor. Again, everybody wants this to be like, Press Taylor sucks. That ain't it for me. And it might not be it for Trent. And it probably shouldn't be it for Shad. I still think it's the number one thing I would do if I was Shad Khan, the owner of the Jags right now. I'd be like, I need you to call plays. You're really good at it. Like, guess what? Mac Jones can play quarterback too, but Trevor's better at it.
True.
Like, that's it. It's very simple to me. Does that have to be a divide? Not necessarily. I just think that's real life. Like, you're the better option.
Yeah.
So I'm doing everything I can if I'm Shad or Trent to be like, hey, what do we have to do around you, Doug, to make sure you're calling the plays? I have no problem you developing Press, and he's being a big part of this and influence. That's fine. We like Press too. But I need you being the signal caller.
Because we did it and it didn't work. It didn't work.
Yeah, and when we did do it, Trevor had his best 2 months of his NFL career. So maybe that is one. Like, if you really look at something that could divide.
Possibly.
That actually could be the one, because I would side if Doug ends up saying, hey, I believe in, and that could be the same Philadelphia thing, which everybody says, I think this guy can do it. We're good. We're fine. And Trevor sounds like he's expecting Press to be the guy. But I could easily see Trent front office. And if I'm sitting there in Trent's room, I'm like, I don't get this. I would probably agree with him more than I agree with Doug.
Yeah. Yeah, because you would believe that when they interviewed and looked for that coach, that Doug Pederson calling the plays was probably a big part of that interview and why they hired Doug Pederson in the first place. So, yeah, I mean, that is one. And I guess if it comes down to it, it'll be interesting to see if Doug Pederson is willing to, for lack of a better term, once again, die on that hill. If that's what happened in Philly.
Yeah. And I think one thing I don't know if I think everybody's grabbed that hill that he died on. I think it's deeper than that. I think it's more about some player draft conversation, input conversation, other things to that point. Who knows? For all we knew, he wanted, I don't know what the story is. Maybe the story is he wanted Rager and got Rager, but maybe he really wanted Jefferson and they got Rager. Listen, if that happened to me and I'm the head coach, I'd be pretty pissed off about that move.
Yeah.
I mean, I sat here and pounded the table for a guy like, and I'm not saying that's happened. I'm just, you never know. There's more to it than just like this simplistic. I almost laugh now when I see, oh yeah, well, he died on this thing with Press Taylor. Like, he wouldn't get, I mean, these are $10 million a year jobs. I appreciate loyalty. I get loyalty. I get the belief. Like, that's cool. But that couldn't have been the only thing that happened in Philadelphia.
No, definitely not. But it may be a big part of it.
But it was a big part of it.
Yeah, I mean.
Or the final part of it,
Yeah, it might be the last thing that happened. But it's wild to me that Doug Pederson, if he decides, to ride with Press Taylor, let him do that, whatever, to be like so good at something and then just like, no, I'm not going to do it. Like, we can have these conversations. Like, I'm listening. Obviously, I can overrule you, sure. But like, I'm just not going to do it. Like, it's wild to me. Like, that's It's coaching. Like, it's what the whole thing is.
I know, yeah, and it's not even Doug's personality there. Like, Doug doesn't seem very conflict oriented to me.
Yeah,
which I'm sure he more than I think. We just don't see a lot of it. But Glenn says the divide might be the improvement with the Texans, for example, and the deal for Diggs, like those kind of deals. Like, are we being aggressive enough? That's a good call. Like, it's hard not to look at the Texans and be like, all right, those guys are going to get their guys all the pieces. Are we doing enough? And then where does that come back to? Hey, Trent, why didn't you go get us Ayuk, right? Why didn't you go get us a top 10 receiver? But then I come back to this, Glenn. I say, Doug's still a guy that won with not a 1,000-yard rusher and hardly a 1,000-yard receiver. Like, he kind of feels like, I don't need that.
Right.
So you do wonder, what does Doug think he really needs that he hasn't been given? They gave him tight ends. Doesn't use both of them.
Nope.
So
uses one a lot, though.
Yeah. And so listen, the more of the story here is I'm not trying to create where's the divide. I think it's a little bit manufactured and a little bit like overplayed that these guys aren't on the same page. I think they are on the same page. I think you said it, outside of like a month where it got a little squirrely. For an arranged marriage for these last couple of years, like now going on 26 months, this thing's worked out pretty damn well.
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree. And I think if they just beat Tennessee at the end, they go to the playoffs, they probably don't win, whatever. Obviously, the whole offseason has a different kind of tune to it, but you're not talking about this epic collapse. You're talking about, that was pretty bad, but they've earned the, I guess, equity to kind of see what happens next year. Obviously, you don't beat Tennessee. All that's out the window. But again, outside of 6 weeks or, a little more, this has been the opposite of what the Jags have been the last 10 years outside of 27. Like, there's been a lot of good. So they got to figure out, and whether they've done a good job or not in free agency, you can be the judge of that, but they got to figure out how to stop the storm that happened when they get back on the football field for games that matter and win.
Yeah, we'll see if they can do it. Hey, we have Shock Your Mock quarterfinal number 2. I've tweeted that out, so I've shared that, so you can vote on Twitter, left or right. That's all you have to do here. And this one is pitting, let me just double check, Jay Collier and Poppy Stingray together.
Okay.
I like the Jared Verse selection over there. A.D. Mitchell, got to remember now, he traded back, so he used some trades. Next year, we might not even allow trades, but this year we did. We didn't make those rules. Zach Zinner, the big
name.
Splinter or Squinter, depending on which Disney movie you're watching, from Austin, both made this list. And you vote left or right. So here's the deal. If you're in the YouTube chat and you're not on Twitter, then just put quarterfinal number 2, left or right. Mm-hmm. Or Q2, left or right. We'll add them up. And on Twitter, you can just hit left or right. So it's the easiest place to go vote. We've got 2 of them out there. We'll put the other 2 out there. And then we'll have our 4 semifinalists that will be squaring off on Tuesday's edition of the Shock Your Mock presented by Everbank. We're doing a little bit different this year. We got a bracket going. And right now it is Jay Collier and Poppy Stingray with this latest edition of their mocks that got shocked, but they made it by the preliminary rounds.
How about that? Somehow we had late to his chores again. We got, I don't know if you heard the breakdown on Luke McCaffrey. I believe it was not as fast as Christian, not as physical as the dad, but hey, he's one of them. So.
I thought he played for, I thought that was the McCaffrey that played for Iowa basketball.
Huh?
Yeah. What's McCaffrey's kid name? McCaffrey coaches Iowa basketball, and I think he had a kid that played for him. I swear his name was Luke McCaffrey.
Really?
But I could be wrong. Max Melton has been a popular pick, by the way.
Very small, by the way, I think is what the problem was.
Tavondre Sweat, I've seen him from 41 all the way to 114.
Well, then there's not a lot of value then if you can get him at 114, and I'm seeing him at 41. But, Texas finally had a good football season. Shout out to him. Horns up, horns down, however you feel about it. 2 Texas guys off the rip. I don't know about that. Missouri.
Yeah, we got a big Texas draft there.
Colorado State. I didn't know they played football. And then kicker from Stanford. Dude must be a genius. That's fine.
All right, let's take a break. We will be back on the Brent and Austen show. Casey Kurtz filling in. Austin in Vegas. He's got a big fight on Saturday, and he starts getting prepared for that out in Las Vegas and will join us starting tomorrow on the show each and every day, checking in and talking about the draft as we count down to the NFL Draft 2024. More Shock Your Mock quarterfinalists coming up. More conversation about what the Jags might do. There's some new notes out in an Albert Breer Monday morning quarterback session. So we'll see where the Jaguars are leaning and some of the nuggets going on around the National Football League, including the latest from Adam Schefter, as well as I think when you get some of the rumors and notes this week, they start to become or feel a little bit more real. Everyone trying to be right at the last minute and pushing all their chips in before the NFL Draft kicks off at 8 o'clock on Thursday night. We'll be right back here on the Brent and Austen Show, the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. You can find us on the Action News Jacks app and actionnewsjacks.com. In Northeast Florida, we love hanging out on the back patio, maybe grilling out lunch or dinner with the family, enjoying the good weather, or maybe enjoying the big game on the TV. Or maybe your favorite team in town, the Action Sports Jacks team. This is great, except for when it's really hot or the bugs start coming out. But what if you didn't have to worry about that? Titan Outdoor Solutions will make your outdoor area a comfortable spot, any time of the day, any time of the year. This makes too much sense. Titan Outdoor Solutions can give your home an upgrade. Customized pergolas, awnings, controlled shade, even retractable screens. The solution to beating the heat and the bugs and getting more use out of your home is Titan Outdoor Solutions. And this can even help prevent storm damage at your home. Living in Florida and living in your home is already good. Now make it great. Quality products, custom work, locally owned and operated. Visit TitanShuttersAndScreens.com or call 904-484-7580.
Navigating to that perfect car can be a daunting task. Trust me, I understand, but if you want to find the perfect blend of sales and service for your automotive needs, look no further than the Tom Bush family of dealerships.
Here at Tom Bush, they do things right. Dating back to 1970, they've been a staple in the community, giving back and keeping everything local. With 4 different brands to choose from, BMW, Mazda, Volkswagen, and Mini, there's a car for every member of the family, and the customer service is second to none. Looking to add an electric vehicle to your fleet? Tom Bush remains at the forefront of new technology with plenty of staff on hand to walk you through the future of driving and help eligible customers file for that EV tax credit.
Whether you're looking for your future driver's first car or you want to step up to luxury and arrive in style, the Tom Bush family of dealership is the only stop that you need to make.
Stop by the showroom or check out the inventory at tombush.com.
When you think sports, you think Action Sports Jacks, the official station of the Jaguars, on location for every game. But the most experienced team in town doesn't stop there. From high school football to the big events in the area, Action Sports Jacks is always on. Now, we take that to a new level. Action Sports Jacks 24/7 is around-the-clock coverage of the teams you love and the moments you can't miss. The best local sports in Jacksonville on Action Sports Jacks 24/7.
It might look quiet, but that's just a chance to admire the facilities on the campus of the University of North Florida Ospreys. The stretch run has arrived in college sports, and for the Ospreys, that means the end of the beach volleyball season coming soon, and critical series for UNF softball and on the baseball diamond for the Ospreys team. Tennis is trying to peak in time for April's ASUN tourney as well. The postseason in golf is on the horizon, and track and field has its busiest stretch of the season. For news, schedules, and results, just go to UNFospreys.com.
Do you have ugly concrete around your home or business? Are you tired of concrete that is cracked, stained, or just plain ugly? Spartan Coatings' range of products provides a surface that is non-porous, easy to clean, antibacterial, and slip-resistant, all with superior durability.
Living in Florida nearly my whole life, I know the toll our weather can take on a garage floor. That's why I had Matt and the crew from Spartan Coatings transform this space. And the best part? They did it in one day.
It was a professional process from step one. The polyurea and polyaspartic system provides superior flexibility, is 4 times stronger than epoxy coatings, and will withstand temperatures high and low. Plus, it comes with a 20-year warranty. Whether it's a garage floor, patio, pool deck, driveway, or your interior flooring, Spartan Coatings has you covered. To get started transforming your ugly concrete surfaces, call 904 888-671-3930 or visit SpartanCoatings.com today for your free quote.
Everyone loves a good game night. Here you don't have to be the host. You don't have to clean up. They bring the food and drinks to you, and you can watch whatever you want on the big screens. It's more than a card room. It's a night full of fun with friends. Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and now the newest location here in St. Augustine, right off 95 at exit 311. A brand new clean room, a full bar and menu, my favorite sushi in town. And I love the fries too. You don't have to just play poker at Best Bet. That's why I come over here to the table games and play one card poker. That's a pretty good card and a win. One card poker is like war as a kid, you against the dealer. And this isn't the only fun table game to play. A friendly staff, a lot of fun. It's a good night out at Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and the newest location in St. Augustine. You can be a serious player or a novice. It doesn't matter. If winning equals fun, you're a winner every time at Best Bet. I'll save you a seat, and I'll see you down here at Best Bet St. Augustine.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Hey, congratulations to Matt Lucas and UNF men's tennis. Matt was in studio with us, of course, last week as they were heading down to Fort Myers. We knew they were the favorite. I'll tell you what, this wasn't easy for the tennis guys now. They had to really earn it over the weekend down in Fort Myers. They beat Stetson. It looks like a rout, 4-0, but that doubles, I was watching it, and that doubles stuff was intense. And they won they won a tiebreaker. And they win their third title in program history, so they will be on to the ASUN tournament. I'm sorry, the NCAA tournament for the third time. Second time, I think it is under Matt Lucas, who was also named Coach of the Year on the men's tennis side. So congratulations.
That had to be painful, laying on the whatever floor that you play on in tennis. Like, it had to be warm.
I was thinking about that,
you know what
too.
I'm saying? Like, that was the mistake that he made when he went down to celebrate. Like, he was excited, don't get me wrong. I've never won anything close to that, so I shouldn't be criticizing. But when he went down and, like, knees hit the ground, you know they started burning. Then the dog pile, you got burning legs. Like, you know there was some uncomfortability.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. It was hot down there. You could tell those guys sweating their butt off. But it was cool. You know, I called the ASUN tennis last year.
Oh, I remember.
And it was fun. Like, it's a neat format. It's different than like watching a major tennis event, or it's a really cool format. And then you get a lot of people watching, the excitement level, and gets kind of rowdy there, and you could kind of feel the pressure. So I was peeking in on it. So I love, we get to cover the Jag stuff and the big stuff, and we went to the Masters a couple weeks ago. But this weekend was such a cool weekend for local sports. Again, we're kind of locked into baseball and softball. River City Rumble, I think they did that right. They had it, the ASUN put them both, UNF and JU playing each other in baseball and softball the same weekend.
Yeah, smart.
And they were like an hour apart starting times, I think, so you could see both.
It was a good idea.
Really good idea.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing that I was a little surprised by is Saturday's game on, I think they must have gone and done the way the colleges are set up, UNF and both JU, I think they basically can call one game on campus at a time. Makes sense, right? I mean, how much resources you really have. It's crazy that they're able to do as much as they do. So they had Friday's game on ESPN+. They did not have Saturday's game on baseball, so I'm assuming they did the softball game Saturday and then the baseball game on Sunday, which then got me thinking on this new Action Sports Jax 24/7 network, hey, you tell us when the River City Rumble isn't going to be televised, and maybe we can come out there and throw it on.
How about that? You could.
Might be a good idea.
Might be a great idea, especially because UNF.
Talking to everybody out loud here. Probably shouldn't do that. I don't even know if we can pull it off, but I think we could.
I mean, you could definitely pull it off. I mean, it's not.
Yeah, even if it's very light, it's at least it can be on for people to see, because there's so many local players in that, and we're ready to watch. Now we almost went to it Saturday night, but we're like, okay, we're going to get out there in time, so we'll watch it. And then I was like, I can't find it.
Yeah, it's tough. Bummer.
There you go. Hey, we were just talking about Trent, Baalke, Doug Pederson, and Kim Corner has found the Doug Pederson reaction to their relationship from Thursday. So let's hear from Doug.
I'll tell you something. As far as our involvement as a staff and myself, it's the best I've been around. It's one of the things that Trent really has been open to the evaluation process from the coaches, right? And he understands the coaching side of it as well as the scouting side of it, and the involvement has been, it's the same every year. It's probably even gotten a little bit more, just the more comfortable that we are working together, and it takes everybody, to put a roster together, and it's not about one guy making all the decisions, right? And so there's a lot of input. He values what the coaches say and how the coaches rank and stack players, just like, we appreciate what the scouts do because they're the ones that are out there, every single day scouting these players. So it's been a really good process, and one that as a coach, you can really appreciate.
I think that's kind of the whole deal there. Did you catch the first 3 seconds where they were laughing after the question?
I did.
What was it? What was that laugh to you? I never could figure it out. Like I said, maybe it's coming off a couple months ago, but...
Did you ask the question?
I did.
Okay, so then the laugh was definitely what a dumb question. What was he supposed to say, Brent? Nah, I hate him.
No, but it wasn't phrased like, do you like him? It was phrased, how much input do you now have compared to year one, and how has your relationship developed over the last few years?
Bro, it was a laugh. I'm the coach, dog. I'm picking who I want.
Yeah, that's why it wasn't I don't really think it wasn't based off the rumors of the end of January or anything like that. But you almost sense that that's what he and Trent were chuckling about there.
Yeah, good little chuckle.
It wasn't interesting. I don't know if we got that again. Can we just play the chuckle part?
They laughed at your question, bro.
You think they were just laughing at my question?
No, I think they're,
I'm on a hell of a run this last couple months in questioning.
I just think it was worth a good little chuckle. He said, really? He came to the press conference, got a pass, sat down, and asked that question? Are you serious? Oh, boy. And then he lit you up. That's my thing.
So look at him.
I'll tell you something.
Look at him. It's a great laugh by Doug, by the way.
What a
Does
question.
Doug, can we go back to Doug here? Does Doug can you do it again? Doug have a little Jay Leno in him?
I'll tell you something.
Is that a little Jay Leno?
As far as our involvement as a staff and myself,
it's the first time I've ever really thought, but I'm like, he's
I've
got a little Jay Leno when he turned the profile side with that laugh. Think so, Kim? Kim's like, yeah, I see it.
So the two things that I pick up on there the most outside of the laugh is one, Doug Pederson needs to get some sleep. Bro looks exhausted. And two, the way they had that lit, the left side of Doug Pederson is completely light, and then the other side, there's no light, so it's dark. It's like Doug Pederson is in between evil and good. He's leaning to the right a little bit, and then leaning to the left. When he looks that way, the light hits his face, but when he goes back this way, he's dark.
We're gonna really breaking this down. We want to see it again, Kim. Now we got to...
Okay.
I'll tell you something.
So, look, it's way dark on the other side. His left eye is completely in the dark.
Myself,
the lighting was really interesting in that room. And so I can see why it was dark on the one side. It was good.
If he just moves over a little bit, he's a Batman villain. Yeah. That's basically where this is living right now.
Yeah.
And he definitely needs some sleep. They've been grinding the draft. Bro's tired. There's no doubt he's tired.
I didn't get that. But
you don't think he looks tired?
I did see the Jay Leno part of it, though. Can't get off the Jay Leno side. I was only on the profile, though. I was only on the profile and the laugh. He got a little Jay Leno in him. Like a younger Jay Leno.
The chin.
What's that?
The chin. It's not as big.
It's not, obviously Jay's chin is pretty defined.
And Bro's got one heck of a chin.
I love how I can talk Jay Leno like I know him. Yeah, Jay.
He's got great hair.
It's true.
It is, the hair is a little bit, I think, similar,
that
right?
Is what
I think
it
that's
is.
where we're going.
It's a good call. It's the hair.
Glenn says the laugh was that inevitable question. They knew it was coming.
Yeah, that could be.
Did they? I don't know. It's been a couple months. And really, I honestly wasn't thinking that as a question. I wasn't thinking you guys are fighting here. I was more just thinking the coach side. Now, Doug could easily be laughing about it too, because for years he's now seen why he got fired at Philly. And he knows the truth more than others, but the reports are always staying loyal to press and not enough input. So I'm always going to get this question.
Right.
So maybe he has gotten the question similar the last couple of years. I don't remember.
Well, I think it's also think about the press conferences with Trent Baalke since he's been the Jags GM. A lot of it has been almost attacking a little bit, right? Because early on it was
true.
So it feels like Trent's had all these type of questions. I know Doug's the one laughing there, but
yeah.
Trent was probably hey, this is probably coming.
Yeah,
right? You know, we're going to get this
That's
question.
probably true.
And they're it was Bert? We knew it.
or maybe Doug was laughing because he's like, I wasn't expecting Brent to ask that. I thought he was going to ask about play calling again.
Could be. Could be. It's like,
because there's a little odds now going on quietly if I'm going to ask every time about play calling.
Really?
Which I didn't this time around.
How about that? You upset the pool. I like that. Very good.
But yeah, I thought that was pretty wild. And I think he left that up for interpretation. It was just a funny laugh there.
How many times have you asked a question in a press conference or like one-on-one that the person has audibly laughed right after you asked the question?
Yeah, not many. Not many, but what was it that sparked me to say I've got checks last year? Do you remember what the context was?
I do exactly remember what the context was. Everybody else, I don't know why, everybody else was saying their credentials, like where they work. So then Brent gets up there, says, Brent, CBS 47, Fox 30, ESPN 690. And then Doug was like, "Ooh, is that it?" You're like, got a lot of checks, Doug. Holy cow.
That was how
nobody else had like more than one. Everybody else was like,
yeah, that's how it was.
Here, there. And Brent's like, hold on, I work at 6 different spots. I also do the Brent Martineau podcast, Brent Austin show, Action Sports Jacks 24/7.
That's how it did happen. You're right.
Yep.
I'm going to say one more thing about we cut a lot of sound for the show on Friday, and then we cut a lot of sound and use some of it on the weekend, like Saturday and Sunday on primetime. And I was cutting the sound again, or like trimming it down a little bit for last night's show on CBS 47 and Fox 30. And I'm telling you, this is, I know I've been accused at times of a Trent Baalke defender.
Well,
but I'm telling you this, from a fan perspective, if you go back and watch that news conference, and my guess is you go back and watch a GM's news conference around the league, I don't think you're getting as much as Trent is giving you. I think Trent, for the last 2 years, and that draft luncheon, going into an important time and a fun time and a time that's very anticipated, with very little knowledge of details from the outsiders, us and the fans, I think he really delivered a bunch of talking points, a bunch of, hey, here's a little insight. Now, we'll see how it goes, but I think he was very transparent, way more transparent than I think you would guess a guy like Trent Baalke would be.
You think it's a good thing?
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad thing. I also don't think, the problem with Trent is he's not like this charismatic guy. So he's not this warm and fuzzy guy. And so I think in part.
Hey, I had a great conversation.
Yeah, you did. You saw it.
That's my guy.
But I think part of that gets displayed as morphs into other things, from decision making to football GM to other deal. I think you can make the case he's done a lot of good things here in Jacksonville. I think we did, him and Doug.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's very underrated going in there that you would leave a draft luncheon like that the last couple of years and come away with, he said that, he said this. And by the way, it's Trent's press conference. It's not Doug's. Like, Doug answers like 3 questions out of the 20.
Laughs at some.
And he laughs at some of them.
Do you think part of that, and again, this would go back to like what they always say they don't listen to in the noise, but do you think part of that is like Trent going, well, I mean, I'm not sure how everybody feels about me, so I might as well, just.
Yeah, I wonder if I don't get the sense he's catering. Like, I know he hears the noise. It's impossible for him not to hear the noise. I don't think this is all of a sudden like, hey, I'm going to repair my image and I'm going to be very, because it's not him. Like, he could try to be funny and like, you know who did that? In my opinion, who did that is Doug Marrone. Doug Marrone did that. Doug Marrone knew his image, the way people viewed him, his perception, kind of grumpy Doug, and he really turned the table on that.
Yeah.
In his time in Jacksonville, he became way more affable. He smiled a lot more, and he was cognizant of it. And you can say that's right or wrong. I'm not even judging that. I'm just saying that's a real deal. Like Doug in Buffalo, or Doug even as O-line coach in Jacksonville, and Doug head coach in Jacksonville. Go look at it. Yeah. Totally different. And I think it played nicely for him, actually. And I don't know if he was trying to do that to counter what like Tom's persona was, or possibly. You never know. But I think he actually worked at it. I think he thought about it, and I think it played well for him. Yeah. But Trent is not going to do that.
No, I get it. I guess though, and I understand he didn't say this, but what do you have to lose if you're like a GM in that spot? And I understand if you're the GM of Washington, you have a lot to lose, right? Because nobody knows what you're going to do.
Yeah.
But like Trent, like it's their plan to pick Marvin Harrison if he's there at 17. Like you can say, because they might have 10 dudes that they want, and none of them are there, so you can kind of say whatever you want.
You can almost say anything.
Yeah, we're looking
because it opens the door for everything.
Right. Like,
yeah, I get it.
I feel like once you get past a certain point of the draft, like you got nothing to lose because you could say 15 names. They all might be gone.
Yeah.
So
he'd be way more coy if he was picking 6, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and the only thing you really can't say at 17 is like, yeah, our goal here is to trade to 26. Like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like other than that, you really kind of you can say what you want.
But I mean, he even told us, like, I hadn't heard like the analytics thing.
Yeah.
Where he's like, yeah, analytics people tell you not to move up. Now maybe I just hadn't seen it, but I mean, and last year what he said, didn't he say? I think the thing that stuck with me from last year when he came out and be like, yeah, we like 3 guys.
Yeah.
And I was like, who says that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Like, we like 3. They said they like 3 guys in that spot. They told you. Now you just, for the next week, we just guessed who were the 3 guys.
And we were nowhere close. We didn't have
Anton Harrison.
Didn't have Anton Harrison anywhere
I forget
near.
who we guessed. It was the corner from Iowa, right? Or Banks? No.
Deontay Banks.
Where's he?
Maryland.
Maryland, okay. And I don't know who else. But yeah. So that's what I'm saying. I don't know if he's just giving us, who talk 3 hours a day, topics, or the fans feel like the same thing. Like, hey, that's interesting. Like, that's an interesting nugget. And I just don't think many GMs do that.
Yeah. I guess the only reason I think about it from the sense of maybe they're trying to do something is, I mean, Jags, bad optics for a ton of years.
For so long.
Like, it doesn't hurt to come out and make it actually seem like you're talking to the fan. You know what I mean?
No, it doesn't hurt. Like
New England's not doing.
I encourage it for a long time.
Yeah, like New England's not doing that. I get that, but like you really in this spot, I think you have nothing to lose. Really.
Yeah, that's fair. Fair. Delphonic says Casey talking to Trent while getting autographs should have been the very first segment.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, it ain't my fault. He didn't tell me about it until we started talking about it.
Looking back, we probably could have led with that. That's fine. No, I don't really remember how to do this. So
I got a little confused on the story. When was this?
This was on Friday.
So this was Friday.
Yeah.
This was the day after the luncheon.
Yeah. So actually, this will for your time frame. When the Jags on the app push that they re-signed Shatley.
Oh yeah.
He was still walking.
Oh, that
because
makes sense.
I remember thinking, dang, they are signing players and bro's out on a walk.
Well, his job was done 3 hours earlier.
But that was about the timeline. Yeah, he was on like a 2-hour walk.
It's funny. I almost asked that. I actually left the news conference, the luncheon, and was like, shoot, I forgot to ask about Shatley because I've been wanting to ask, is he going to retire?
True.
I'm stunned that he's not retiring.
I'm stunned that, yeah, I agree.
But
coming off of last, yeah, absolutely.
Obviously contemplated it for a long time. I guess that's why it took so long to sign him, and they gave him some rope there to sign him. I like that he's coming back, but I'm a little surprised. I thought he'd retire.
I was surprised. I can't believe he.
He pushed through
yeah.
and did it. But then once he made it, I just figured for sure he was going to retire. The longest tenure Jag continues to be in Jacksonville. If you missed the story, by the way, you can always go back and check it out on this Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network, our show replays. But also, you can check it out on the podcast or anywhere on social media. Check out the Brent Austen Show and Action Sports Jacks. You'll be able to find it. But in about 35 minutes into the show, Casey reveals that he was out getting autographs on Friday at the stadium. Not at the football stadium, but at the Jumbo Shrimp game. Mm-hmm. And Trent Baalke walked by.
Yep.
And like 2 hours later, autograph seeker's still out there.
Standing in the same exact spot. Hadn't moved much. There was only a little bit of shade. I was under the same tree.
And Baalke returns from his walk to Lake City, as Casey put it.
Bro was gone forever.
And they struck up a conversation.
Little conversation.
Which included Casey saying, what are you doing at number 17?
That was actually the lead. That's actually what I led with. He was walking towards me. I said, it's now or never. Trent, receiver, corner, what's the move here? And Trent said, yeah, no, we're not doing all that. And then he's like, why are you staying on the corner in Jacksonville? I said, Trent, we're racking, bro, obviously.
We're racking.
I'm trying to make some money out here.
I love it. I love when you say you were racking to him. He'd be like, what the hell are you talking about?
Yeah, bro was lost completely. I was like, yeah, autographs, whatever. So, going to the game? I'm like, yeah. He's like, it's not for like 5 hours. I'm like, yeah, no, I'm trust me, Trent, I got this under control. But yeah, a lot of good conversation. Shout out to him.
If he were to, I hope somebody knows Trent and listens. I know you listen, like not just to this, but to everything somewhere along the way. You've got to take a shot of this picture or this segment and share it with Trent, because Trent's now going to be like befuddled.
Yeah.
He's going walking leisurely down.
He thought he was safe.
Jacksonville. He comes back, a little attention, an autograph seeker, just has a little small conversation. And that small conversation with Casey Kurtz turns up being, heck, the lead story, according to Delphonic, our new producer, apparently, here on the Brent and Austin Show on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. He'll be like, that's the guy I saw autograph seeking. Why is he hanging out with Brent?
I tell you what, it's a heck of a come up. I went from minor league autographs to on the show. How about that? But Trent, in my defense, if you're watching, I had no idea I was going to be here till yesterday at 5 p.m. Okay? Brent checked with everybody else that's ever talked with him before. They all said no. Brent hit me and said, hey, I'm not paying, but can you do the show? And I said, sure.
I asked Trent if he wanted to come on.
Yeah, that would have been great. Trent walks in, I'm like, oh, Trent, from the street corner. How you doing? That's a weird thing to say.
By the way, Trent and Doug finalizing that draft board today. That was the other nugget that came out. Today's the day they finalized the draft board.
Yeah, they're busy.
And the hay's in the barn after that. Hey, real quick, Albert Breer, Monday morning quarterback. Here's what he had to say about the Jags today. First round pick, number 17, total picks 8. The needs, wide receiver, corner, defensive tackle, O-line. Why isn't pass rush on here for Albert Breer? I don't understand this.
I do.
Okay, what do you need to know? The Jaguars have explored moving up, and they've done a lot of work on the top receivers in the draft. Losing Calvin Ridley, even with Christian Kirk and Gabe Davis paid, makes that spot a priority. Failing that, corner, if either Arnold or Mitchell are available here, shapes up as a possibility too. Another would be a disruptive defensive tackle for new DC Ryan Nielsen's scheme. Maybe Murphy if he slides a bit, or Illinois defensive tackle Jerzon Newton, who's coming off a foot fracture.
Oh,
and
boy.
by the way, a lot of folks in the chat seem to like Newton as well, or not a lot, but somebody earlier in the chat seemed to like him.
Foot fracture?
Yeah, no thanks.
He's coming to Jacksonville.
I don't understand why. So you do understand?
Sure.
Why is offensive line ahead of pass rush?
Okay, that part makes no sense. But I will say, I would imagine the reason that you don't see, edge on here is because you just paid Josh Allen a ton of money and you drafted Trayvon Walker first. So from the outside perspective, if you're not here in the trenches, you probably go, oh, they're good.
Yeah.
They've got a top 3 paid one and they've got a first overall pick one. So they're probably not taking that position once again in the first round. That would be my guess. Now, the offensive line thing, Brent, if they draft another offensive line, bro, I won't have anything to say because I won't be here, but I'll be befuddled.
Yeah, I mean, if they draft an offensive lineman, then they also make a corresponding move. I mean, that's the thing. Like, they have to. Because, or there's something up like with, hey, remember when Cam got suspended?
Yes.
Last year. That was the draft day surprise.
Yep.
And then it was like, oh, okay. Well, let me just throw a scenario out there. Braden Sheriff decides to retire. Well, now offensive guard, by the way, I'm not reporting that. I'm just saying, like, that'd be the only way that offensive line all of a sudden becomes a very high priority and you go get a guard. Because then you don't have one.
Yeah. I mean, you got Walker Little. You might as well try it. He's played every other spot on the offensive line. So you might as well just throw him
you
over
do have
there.
Tyler Shatley back, too.
That's fair.
But yeah, that'd be the only position. That'd be the only thing that could happen. Like, something were to go wrong with, like, there's something coming up the pipe, right? Or you're going to go trade Cam Robinson. It makes it be the only reason offensive line makes sense. And I'll give you one more reason offensive line doesn't make sense. Did you hear Trent Baalke? He thinks he can find like a Pro Bowler in the 4th round in this draft.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, I mean, he basically said that. It's super deep.
Don't get me wrong. I'd be thrilled if you could. But yeah, they're not. I've said this before about 365 ago. They're not picking an offensive lineman in the first
they're
round.
not. But I said that last year, too, and they didn't.
That's what I'm saying.
But they're not this year.
There's nowhere. This time, for real, there's nowhere for an offensive lineman.
I get best player available in a guy like Murphy if he's really that good because of what people are starting to say this week, and it's really shaping up like he's better than a top 17 pick. I honestly don't get the position. We've talked about it. To me, the Jags have 3 options: wide receiver, corner, and pass rusher. That's what they need in the first round. If it's not one of those 3 positions, it better be a Murphy that you're just like, the value's too good to pass up on. And outside of that, it better not be anybody else but those 3 positions: wide receiver, corner, pass rusher.
And if it's wide receiver and you're not...
Or I'll give you Bowers, by the way, at tight end, if it's something like that. Same as a Murphy type of situation where a guy fell to you.
Yeah, and the problem is you're probably not getting that at wide receiver. Like, I don't like the idea that and again, they can say whatever they want after the fact, but if you're getting the 4th, 5th, you're not getting 4th. If you're getting the 5th or 6th receiver in the draft, I don't know how good you feel about that without moving up. So, in my opinion, if they're not moving up, they're not getting a receiver. That's just me.
Yeah, that's fair. I wonder what they do there. I think I probably would have tend to agree with you. I don't even know if Brian Thomas is on the board or if they're going to move to go get a Thomas, or if he was still there, they would even get Brian Thomas. He's an interesting one. He's a hard one to predict from that standpoint. Hey, lunch hour coming up. Donato's Draft Day giveaway is also coming up. So on Thursday, we're going to end up having you pick who the Jaguars pick, and that could enter you into a draft weekend Donato's party, pizza party. And we'll deliver it to you one way, shape, or form for about a dozen folks. But even before then, if you're hungry for some lunch, looking for a place to go, in Mandarin and Jack's Beach, Donato's Pizza, you can use code Brent20 to get 20% off your order. Small order, big order, doesn't matter. Brent20 is the code. Save 20% at Donato's Pizza. For dinner tonight, any day of the week, for lunch, or a big party that you have planned, Brent20 is the code. Donato's Pizza in Mandarin and in Jack's Beach. Noon hour upcoming. More Shock Your Mock quarterfinals, and that includes Delphonic, who now has entered the chat.
Ho-ho!
We'll take a break on the Brent and Austin Show on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 network. You can find us on actionnewsjacks.com and the Action News Jacks app as well. We'll even hit some conversation about the Jacksonville Iceman and get a report from Stuart Weber and more from the local sports scene, even though all eyes are on the Jacksonville Jaguars as the NFL Draft countdown continues in the National Football League. Draft Night 2024 coming up on Thursday at 8 o'clock.
What started out as better people, better projects just keeps getting, well, better. That's Better Exterior Solutions, ready to help you create a better outdoor experience. Check this out. Motorized pergolas are the latest in technology to transform your outdoor space. Beautiful day? Let the sun shine through. Summer rainstorm? These pergola systems close automatically to keep the weather out. From residential to commercial uses, Better Exterior Solutions has products customized to meet virtually any existing architectural structure. With retractable awnings, screens, and hurricane shutters too, if you want unparalleled quality and expertise, you need Better Exterior Solutions. Get a free estimate by visiting betterexteriors.com or calling 904-902-4999. Better Exterior Solutions. Experience better.
It's the place we party in football season with Jaguars All Access.
Welcome to String Sports Brewery, everybody. Say hello to our guest tonight. That is Trevor Lawrence.
You can bring your party or event to String Sports Brewery in Springfield any day and any time. Rehearsal dinners, corporate events, birthdays, here at Strings, you can enjoy the inside area and the outside area. Good for any weather, good for any occasion. Watch the games, play the games, shoot some hoops. Beer? Yeah, they have that. Plenty of choices. And sure, this is a brewery, but Strings is also a restaurant, and the food is fantastic. A full menu made from scratch meals. And if you need String Sports Brewery to help with a party at your place, they cater too. Family, beer, food, sports. Spring Sports Brewery in Springfield.
I'm Action News Jack's First Alert meteorologist Garrett Beaton. Well, the sun is up and it's going to be a beautiful day.
Sometimes you just need a day to yourself. And Garrett's First Alert forecast makes sure you're ready to go out and enjoy. Garrett and the Action News Jax This Morning team, helping you start your morning right.
Discover how good your water can be with a new Connecticut softener and drinking water system. Connecticut's twin tank non-electric softeners are the most efficient softeners available, and their drinking water systems remove up to 99% of contaminants. We know that at our home. You can find out as well. Right now, you can save $1,000 or more when you bundle the Connecticut Premier Softener with a Connecticut K5 drinking water system. The experts at CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing will test your water for free and determine your water score. Don't know your water score? Well, CGC will find find out and recommend the appropriate Kinetico water treatment solutions to improve it. The higher your water score, the better your water. Call 904-552-1242 or visit cgcwater.com. That's 904-552-1242, cgcwater.com. Financing options are available with approved credit. CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing are proud partners of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and I'm a proud customer of CGC Water Treatment and Plumbing, an authorized independent Kinetico dealer. Florida license number CFC 1432579.
Community. That's who we serve.
It's the people. Yeah, it's the people.
Demanding answers because the truth matters.
When are you going to do the job?
Listening and getting help to those who need it.
I just appreciate it from the bottom of my heart.
It's about telling stories from deep inside our neighborhoods, informing you, building connections, tracking storms.
Serious storm situation, the kind of which we rarely see.
Holding people accountable.
You were getting at the truth.
That's who we are. Action News Jax.
The friendliest golf course in town, the Golf Club at Southampton. Local golfers have no shortage of options when it comes to picking a course to play here in Northeast Florida year-round. Yet time and time again, I find myself here at the Golf Club at Southampton. Easy to get to off 210 in St. Johns County. It's family-owned and operated and renowned for being one of the area's most player-friendly. That's just one of the reasons we hold the Action Sports Jax Dream 18 charity golf tournament here each fall. The Mark McCumber design layout is great for all skill levels of golfers, from the guys who bomb it a mile on the range to golfers like me who are just happy to put it in the fairway, which Southampton has very accommodating fairways. And if you need new clubs, come down to the pro shop. They'll fit you up and get you a nice new set like they did for me. For more information on membership or to book a tee time and see for yourself, head over to golfsouthampton.com or call the clubhouse at 904-287-7529. The Golf Club at Southampton. It's the official home of the Action Sports Jax Dream 18. Make it your home for golf too.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
All right, the Jacksonville Iceman had nice crowds in game 1 and 2, Thursday and Sunday. No surprise there. It looks like a lot of fun, right? Glow sticks work.
Yeah, those work. I mean, because they're, thunder sticks or whatever they call them these days. Regular glow sticks suck. They're tiny, but those work.
Yeah. Oh, I know, like the regular, like the
those
little
tiny
ones.
Yeah, this works. And they started doing, have you seen the ones that, they all flash at the same time? You seen them when they do those?
No.
Okay.
You mean like blinking light or something like that?
Yeah, but they'll be in the thunder sticks, but
yeah, I get you.
Yeah,
I get you.
It's dope.
Well, they use that a lot, like at Super Bowls and stuff.
Yeah.
With those.
You can do a lot of cool things with lights these days, Brent.
You can. But the Icemen lose yesterday in overtime, 2-1 to the Everblades. So they go back to Southwest Florida, and it's tied at 1. They won 4-0 the first one. Now it's become like a defense. It's interesting because the Icemen score a bunch this year. Mm-hmm. But these are two of the top defensive teams, so I think they're playing it kind of safe, especially the Everblades, probably trying to slow it down, muck it up a little bit.
Yeah, makes sense.
Because the ability to score for the Icemen is, that's my hockey analysis.
Nice. Well done.
But the Icemen have to win this series.
Yeah.
They've got to win this series.
They've been goofing with these boys for years in the playoffs, right?
I mean, they hate them.
Yeah, they hate them. They're the worst. I hate them.
They've made us all hate them.
Yeah, they're the worst.
I don't even know anybody on the Florida Everblades.
Me neither. Never have, never will. Hate them, though. You happen to wear the shirt and I see you, it's on site. Unless you're bigger than me, then in that case, I'll let you go.
But, I mean, they really do have to. I mean, they've got a
stupid logo, too. Just
You don't like the logo?
For the Everblades. Yeah, it's gross. What is this? A gator? Doesn't even make sense.
Kim, do you have Stuart? You do? Stuart Weber, who's really on the Iceman beat the last week.
Bro's been following him around?
He's been following the Jacksonville Iceman around. They're probably already tired of Weber after the last couple of days.
I believe that.
And he was there for post-game festivities and had this report heading into Game 3 this week against the Florida Everblades.
The road to the Kelly Cup takes 16 victories. The Jacksonville Icemen, well, they have 1 so far. They did that on Thursday. Sunday's overtime loss, a setback, but a minor setback as it is a best-of-7 series. The next 3 shift down to Southwest Florida. the home of the Florida Everblades. So far in this series, defense has reigned supreme. Matt Vernon, the rookie, with a sensational season between the pipes for the Icemen, pitching a shutout in that opening game. He gives up the overtime winner on Sunday and a 2-1 loss, but so far defense has been the key, and if the Icemen want to win on the road next week, defense will continue to be a big part of it.
Opportunities are coming at a premium. There's not much going on. Both teams are defending well, and sure enough, on the OT winner, it's we get a good stick on a puck. It goes right to the guy. He gets a good look at it, and it goes in. So, pretty proud of our effort today. I thought we did a lot of good things. Bounces just didn't go our way today.
It's a big focus of ours. These are Florida and us, top two defensive teams in the league. So. It's going to be hard to score goals, so you got to focus on your D zone, and the offense will come from that.
The only way the playoffs don't return to VyStar Veterans Memorial Arena is if the Icemen fall in all 3 games on the road next week. Otherwise, Game 6 and possibly 7 will be right back here in Jacksonville. For Action Sports Jacks, I'm Stuart Weber.
Well, that is Stuart Weber on the Jacksonville Icemen, so I appreciate that report from Stuart. We'll get the Icemen 3 games on the road, hopefully back here in Jacksonville. Or really, hopefully not. But, what's the chance they're going to sweep on the road? They need to probably feel really good about themselves 2 out of 3, though, down there in the Fort Myers area over the next few days. Brent Martineau, Casey Kurtz, Brent and Austin show on Action Sports Jack's 24/7 network. Austin on his way to Vegas. He's got a fight on Saturday night. Big fight coming up. He'll check in starting tomorrow and for the rest of the week from Vegas as he works around some of his duties out there in preparation for a big fight, his 3rd one in the UFC. And this one's a big one coming up. I think I saw he's an underdog.
Big time.
Oh, big time underdog.
Yeah, I think when I saw it last, it was Austin was plus 220, which, I'm going for that.
Yeah, that could be a good payday.
Yeah, I'm not really sure if I'm supposed to say it, but definitely going for that. But yeah, I was surprised when I saw it. But I guess it is what it is.
Do you know anything like
he's plus 200 now, so it has gone down. It was 220. When did I do that? Friday.
What's like a typical, what's a typical fight? How heavy of a favorite will somebody be?
Okay, so if you just looking at the rest of the card, you've got a minus 170, a minus 200, minus 160, and then the guy Austin's fighting is minus 245.
So it's pretty significant.
It's pretty significant. The only other one on the main card that is heavier is the first fight. The dude is minus 330.
Wow.
But
and the story on this guy is he's a kickboxer by trade.
Yep.
And does he look like a more veteran guy? And is that why he would be favorite? Or
I'm probably
or does that
wrong.
Style prevail more often
That's
than
what
not?
I thought. Yeah. So I remember Austin telling me this. This is technically his first UFC fight because he won the Contender Series like Austin did.
Okay.
So
he's kind of like a rising star, up and comer. They value.
Yeah.
I would say.
Yeah, he is. But I think to me it's wild that in your first fight you're such a heavy favorite and you're not like Paddy Pimblett or something like that. So that part surprises me, but should be good. Should be good. Austin's bigger than him, so you got it like that.
Yeah, and how heavy is this guy?
254.
See, I like that.
Yeah, I agree with that.
He's fought a lot of heavy guys, which I just think it's weird. Now, obviously, he's got the conditioning and everything else. Now, this guy apparently is a big hitter, too. It's just the way the heavyweight division is.
Yep.
So if you can always run into something, which is just the nature of this sport. But we've seen some fights from Austin, he's outweighed by 35 pounds.
Yeah, multiple times. And he's done well in those spots.
And he's done pretty well, in some of those spots. But it just feels like you're at such a disadvantage.
Yeah.
This feels like this could be more blow to blow and get some big hits in this one. But it's a big fight. So he is the underdog going in to this fight in Vegas. And we'll talk more about it throughout the week. But he doesn't feel like an underdog. We don't think he's an underdog.
No. YB, yeah, it'll be on there.
Hard Rock, we'll be on there? All the UFC fights are?
Yeah, it'll be there. If it should be there now. If it's not, wait till Friday. But yeah, it'll definitely pop up.
All right.
Not an ad, just on the app a lot. Just so you know.
I thought I was going to say something. What's been fun, like I watch more UFC now. Like I don't lock into it all the time, but I actually find myself watching more of it, obviously because Austen. But he's also like kind of taught me more about the sport.
Mm-hmm.
And what's been cool to watch Austen is how much we can even see he's gotten better.
Yes,
in different areas, right? And I think this will be an interesting strategy in this fight to see what he ends up trying to do with some of the expertise he's got. And I think he just recently went up to purple belt or something. Is that like close to black belt? I think it's like the second one or third one. I'm pretty sure he did. I think I saw that. Yeah, I think he went up to purple belt. So like he's just continuing to get better and better at all these different the different trades, if you will, of MMA. So he's become more well-rounded.
Oh yeah, purple belt is
that the second or third one from the top?
From the top, it's like right in the middle. There's like 3 above it and 3 below it.
Okay, how close is black belt? Is black belt still the top?
Yeah, black belt's the top.
Okay, then what?
Brown, red, blue, purple, green.
I didn't know.
Gold, white, no belt.
I didn't know red and blue were above purple.
According to National Karate Kickboxing.
I wonder if karate and like jiu-jitsu is different.
They're definitely different.
I mean, in the belt system.
Possibly. I don't know how to spell
we'll have to ask.
Oh, it came up. How about that? Austin's already Googled it on this computer. Jiu-jitsu belt order. How about that? Because
maybe I've asked this question before.
I had no chance to spell it. Hold on. No. Purple again, right in the middle though, Brent.
Oh, it is.
Yep. Well, there's 2 different black belts in jiu-jitsu.
See, I thought so. I thought he mentioned there was another way to go.
All right. So there's 2 different black belts, then brown, then purple. So purple is only 2 away from the first black belt.
So yeah, that's what I was thinking. That was right.
Yep.
Okay.
That's for adults ages 16 and up.
Interesting.
If you're a kid, there is no purple belt.
All right. So anyway, we'll keep talking about the fight coming up more with Austen when he gets to Vegas and hopefully gets a big win on Saturday. We'll be watching for that. That's actually for us even more important than who the Jags pick.
Yes.
Hopefully it's a really good weekend. Wide receiver move and Austen win.
I'll take O-line if Austen
That's the
knocks
double.
dude out, to be real with you.
I like that. That's good. I like that about you.
Hey. I'm here for the team.
Brent Martineau, Casey Kurtz. Let's put Shock Your Mock number 3 up.
Ooh.
Quarterfinal number 3. Okay. This has been tweeted out. And we kind of know who's on the left there.
Oh, yeah. Classic.
This is, by the way, of 2 very
These are good. These
listeners,
are the same
viewers
draft.
over the last 5 or 6 years. We appreciate it. You guys have been great.
Who's
Delphonic and Steve Boston.
Yo, Steve, you still calling the phone upstairs? It's probably still blocked, huh? Yeah.
I know. Steve, I'm not sure, has loved the new...
Yeah, probably not.
Because he can't call in, but he does text in or direct messages in or sometimes comments. But it's a little different way Steve has to do it. He can't just like tune it in the car.
Yeah.
On the dial, he's got to go...
And call in with all the windows down.
Which you can, by the way, with YouTube and obviously the Action News Jacks app. You can still do it. Just on your phone. Shouldn't be talking on that thing anyway. Just leave it on us. Simple enough.
Simple.
But there you go. You like those drafts? I mean, they both go with Quinn and Mitchell. And Leggett.
And Carter. It's the same dudes. Top 3. So
really, this becomes who do you like down at the bottom of their draft?
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that, actually, until I was just doing the bracket based in order of how they won their quarterfinals. These guys, this is going to be a close one.
Yeah, then you got Steve going with the offensive lineman. Can't be mad at it. Need some depth over there. You got Delphonic going with the dude from Houston Christian. That's a bold decision. Cam Hart, Notre Dame education. Got to be smart. Zinter showing back up. Might as well sneak a kicker in there. You got to. FAU didn't know they did football. So shout out to that guy who might get picked.
The one thing, like I remember, I think Steve did a couple of them, and this is the one we landed on. I think Delphonic said like he tried like heck to get a Dunze and just couldn't, like in a trade or whatever when he did it. Which, by the way, the Jags might be trying to do the same thing, and they might just not be able to.
Yeah,
I like Mitchell. I think I like Mitchell more than Terry and Arnold.
Yeah, I'm fine with Mitchell. I think he's number 1. Am I missing somebody?
No, I mean, Arnold is a guy, like, it's kind of back and forth. Alabama guy or Toledo guy. Like, I can see why you'd hesitate on the Toledo guy.
Hey.
which I think would be the first MAC player selected in the first round for like years.
Toledo's like the Alabama of the MAC, though.
Yeah, they're not bad. It's
The last
not a bad
couple of years,
program.
they've been dominant.
Yeah, they've been good.
I've been tuning in on Wednesday nights. They cover the spread often.
So here's how you do. You do Q3 and vote left or right in the chat. On Twitter is the easiest way to go. We've got the poll up there, and you just hit left or right. I think we've kind of figured out this system, by the way. It's not a terrible system. It's not the most ideal system. But that's what happens when you have all these platforms clashing together. Sorry, we're trying to talk to you all.
It's a clash. How did these two end up against each other? Is there a system or?
Well, really, I
There's no
just
system.
randomly did it.
Okay, cool.
So
I don't know.
I honestly, I randomly did it so much that if I was doing it again, I probably wouldn't have put the guys with the top three the same.
Really? Yeah. That's kind of what I'm asking about, Brent.
Well, you win the middle rounds here. Or it's important.
I mean, they're the same people. Like, really, what you're doing here is you're trying to decide between Brent and Coleman, who has no stats, by the way, and Jalix Hunt, who played at Houston Christian.
Well, listen, 116 comes into play here, and I would say 153. I think those middle round selections could be big. This is a quarterfinal matchup for the depth guys.
This might be the winner, one of these two.
You like it? You take Leggett?
I'm fine with Leggett in the second round. I like Mitchell, so I'm cool. I said this when you were out. I'm not as sold on Roby as like everybody else. I just wasn't thrilled about it. So the point is, I think that's your starter. And then again, big fan of Dwayne Carter, entrepreneur according to Twitter, Duke education. His football, I'm not really concerned about, but just the person that he's become, at least online, I like him.
It's pretty wild that these guys ended up with Dwayne Carter at 96.
Yeah, I mean,
both of them.
It's extreme value. Love them.
All right. Well, we'll see what who people like. Depth. This one's really for the draftniks.
There you go.
With the depth.
Got to get him.
Brent Martineau, Casey Kurtz, and draft week continues here in Jacksonville. And the Jags, of course, have that 17th overall pick. The feeling right now, do you think the Jags will stay at 17 or not?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, just because the amount of times in life that I've wanted them to trade up and they haven't done it, it's like fool me once, and then now it's like fool me 17 times, like you're not going to get me again. So, yeah, I think they'll just stay. It's what they do. If anything, they're going the other direction, in my opinion.
Well, that's what. But you can go back too if you want. So I'm just. Do you think the Jags will pick 17th at 10:20 on Thursday night, or are we talking about a move of some way, shape? Like, which one do you think happens?
I think it's more likely they pick at 17 than anywhere else.
Really?
Yes.
I think I totally disagree.
Really? I know something.
No. I mean, I don't know how you can know. I mean, even Trent said he's like, I'm not going to know if we're doing that until draft day. I'm not trading before. I do think it's kind of interesting that they all have already had these conversations, that they already know. Like, why would you tip your hand in any direction? Those conversations have to be very finite, very general. Like, hey, yeah, we'd like to maybe move up, and then you start getting ahead. But he even said, he's like, we know what guys want to trade out of there. Like, we know what teams are interested in trading out of there already. So those conversations are already underway. But I don't think they do. And here's the reason I don't think they do. One, I think they mentioned that 12, 13, 14 slot a bunch on Thursday. I think there's a little smoke there to say they are coveting something and they don't think it's going to get to them at 17. And there might be a little bit of a mission here to get ahead of the Indianapolis Colts at 15.
Possibly.
Now, that might be a little bit of a duel, too. Indianapolis might try to do the same thing.
Yeah.
But I also think this has been an aggressive offseason. And I like this about the Jags right now. Chips are in more than they've ever been in my opinion, at least with this regime, and really in a long time. Over the last 3 seasons, the Jags are spending a ton of money in free agency. They're signing their own guys. They feel like they are in a good spot and can compete and contend. And I think they're doing everything they can to push that one step further. I don't think they're just going to lay back here. Now, would they have done that without Houston being as aggressive? Maybe not. But I think Houston forces them to be aggressive. I think Indianapolis, kind of a mystery team in my opinion with Anthony Richardson, forces them to stay ahead of them. I think Tennessee is a team you just don't know, but you're not really as concerned about right now in a whole until they make a couple more moves that make you concerned. But I think the tea leaves to me are adding up. Like, they kind of hinted they will move. They won't move all the way to where we want them to move, but they will move a few spots. And also this aggressive nature of really the last couple years. I think this actually starts with Devin Lloyd. They moved up to get Devin Lloyd back in the first round. That was, to your point, a very aggressive move for this Jags organization. Mm-hmm. I do think Baalke tried to move a lot last year and couldn't. But I don't think that's as much of a Baalke problem as it is a board problem. My guess is there wasn't as much depth in that draft, and people coveted a certain player, and they didn't want to move off that spot. So if you can wager on this,
I'm sure I can.
I would bet the Jags don't pick at 17. I'm betting that way.
Here's my thing, Brent. If you're not going inside the top 10, who are you going for? Because, I don't think the receivers are going to be there. Maybe one of them is there outside of the top 10.
But I'll give you 4 players and 4 reasons to get to number 12 or 13.
Okay.
Potentially. Brock Bowers.
Okay.
Jared Verse. Okay. Arnold or Mitchell. Whatever one you like. Mm-hmm. And if you do like Thomas, I think he's coming off the board before 17.
Yes, I think if you're in play for receiver there, I think the only one that is in play if you're talking 12, 13 is Thomas. But are you sure? That Thomas is the guy? I'm not asking you. I'm asking the Jags. You're sure on Thomas that you're going to move up and go get it? You're positive? I don't know.
Well, the reason why I say it is because you've got three top guys. Everybody's clear on that. But I think Thomas, there's a big separation between then everybody else. So if you are being aggressive and going to get receiver, well, then you go get that separation point for a couple of extra picks. That's okay. Depends how the Jags have them. They might have them back in that pile with a lot of other guys, from Troy Franklin to whoever else. Or Mitchell. I think Thomas is interesting here. I know a lot of people have Mitchell in their mock drafts at 17. I don't think that's happening. I think he'd be back end of the first round guy. You can slide back if you want to do that. And then back becomes a thing.
That's
intriguing. If you can't get any of those 4 guys, corners are all smashed together, and receivers after Thomas are all smashed together. Well, then if you think that way, just drop back to 24, collect something else, and go get your guy to get maybe an extra second-round pick.
See, if you're coming back into the first round, then I think there's conversation there. But when you talk about the other reasons outside of Brian Thomas, because I'm not arguing with you there, but Bowers, one of the 2 corners, whichever one you like then, and then a Jared Verse. Listen, I'm not getting paid money to be the GM of the Jags, so it's easier to say this, but it feels like you can gamble a little bit and still end up with somebody that you mentioned there. I think the math kind of shakes out that one of the 2 corners and or Jared Verse and potentially Bowers, someone's going to be there for you to pick at 17. It's just, are you comfortable playing that game? Again, I'm not the GM, so it's easier for me to say I'm comfortable doing it, but I just think the way that the math is shaking out, because you've got other offensive linemen that may go before you go at 17, I think you're getting one of those guys at 17, just not if you had a choice between Bowers, either of the corners, and Verse. You're probably not making your choice there, but I think you're getting one of those 4 humans.
Well, here's the other thing. We have no idea if the Jags like all 4 of those players.
Agreed, sure.
Right? So, for me, I think of those 4 players.
Yeah.
Because I do think Bowers could even drop to 12 in this situation.
I agree.
I think Verse could be a guy that a lot of people have him on the early 20s now, or 19 or 18. I actually think he could be easily taken at 11, 12, 13, something like that.
And you could throw Dallas Turner in there.
And Turner could as well.
I just think at 17, one of those guys is going to end up sitting there, but if they might not like the one of those 4 that's there.
Yeah, and they might think, again, I believe tight end is interesting because we had a great conversation about it. They might be like, we're not even in the tight end game. We're not picking tight end in the first round.
Right.
We don't care if Bowers is still there at 17. They might be thinking that way, so he might be not even part of their equation.
Which I think then, if he's not, is another pick that probably happens before you pick at 17, which just means another one of those defenders is closer to getting to you.
Yeah. Murphy's interest. But I don't see them trading up to get a Murphy here. I think if he fell to them,
I agree
and you're like, oh, that's crazy value, we're not letting that go, and all our receivers are off the board, and our top 2 corners are off the board, all right, this makes the most sense. That's where I could see them taking a Murphy and really, truly going BPA at that point, because I think it's like their 4th need at this stage. Wow. It is going to be in it. I have come away with this draft cycle and said this many times on the show, and I genuinely believe it. This is one of the most fascinating drafts I think I've covered yet for the Jags. And I did not feel that way until like shortly after the combine. And you start piecing it together and we start talking about it on a daily basis and you're like, okay, you could go this way, this way, this way. I really think the Jags could go a lot of ways with this pick. And I think a lot of things could fall to them because of what everybody's talking about. So many offensive players are going to go, which means the defensive players that are good, that you might be able to argue are some of the best talents in the draft, might fall down to the middle of the first round.
Yeah.
Which would be pretty wild and a hell of a steal for a team or two that is able to get somebody and make the right decision. Let's take a break here on the Brent and Austen Show on the Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network. Our final quarterfinal matchup in Shock Your Mock, presented by Everbank, is coming up as well. And don't forget, these votes will go all the way through tomorrow morning, and then we'll announce our semifinals, and we can vote on those starting tomorrow on Tuesday's edition of Brent and Austen Show on Action Sports Jacks 24/7 Network. The JU Dolphins able to win the River City Rumble Series on the diamond. This one back and forth Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Some entertaining baseball and some good stuff, including an extra inning win on Saturday for UNF. But the JU Dolphins able to hold off a late rally on Sunday to earn the series win. They're 12-6 and atop the ASUN and a tightly bunched baseball standings in ASUN play. Everyone loves a good game night. Here you don't have to be the host. You don't have to clean up. They bring the food and drinks to you, and you can watch whatever you want on the big screens. It's more than a card room. It's a night full of fun with friends. Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and now the newest location here in St. Augustine, right off 95 at exit 311. A brand new clean room, a full bar and menu, my favorite sushi in town. And I love the fries too. You don't have to just play poker at Best Bet. That's why I come over here to the table games and play one-card poker. That's a pretty good card and a win. One-card poker is like war as a kid, you against the dealer. And this isn't the only fun table game to play. A friendly staff, a lot of fun. It's a good night out at Best Bet Jacksonville, Orange Park, and the newest location in St. Augustine. You can be a serious player or a novice. It doesn't matter. If winning equals fun, you're a winner every time at Best Bet. I'll save you a seat, and I'll see you down here at Best Bet St. Augustine.
Do you have ugly concrete around your home or business? Are you tired of concrete that is cracked, stained, or just plain ugly? Spartan Coatings' range of products provides a surface that is non-porous, easy to clean, antibacterial, and slip-resistant, all with superior durability.
Living in Florida nearly my whole life, I know the toll our weather can take on a garage floor. That's why I had Matt and the crew from Spartan Coatings transform this space. And the best part, they did it in one day.
It was a professional process from step one. The polyurea and polyaspartic system provides superior flexibility, is 4 times stronger than epoxy coatings, and will withstand temperatures high and low. Plus, it comes with a 20-year warranty. Whether it's a garage floor, patio, pool deck, driveway, or your interior flooring, Spartan Coatings has you covered. To get started transforming your ugly concrete surfaces, call 904-671-3930 or visit SpartanCoatings.com today for your free quote.
I like to say everybody has a story, and sometimes we're a part of other people's stories. That's the case here at Nimnicht Buick GMC. My family and the Nimnicht family. We've purchased 6 different vehicles from Nimnicht Buick GMC. Maybe you're in the market for a truck. Well, let me tell you about the GMC Sierra. I absolutely love mine. I've had a couple of these. This one's a 2020, but right now on 2024 GMC Sierras here at Nimnicht Buick GMC, there's special financing. A year ago, we purchased a GMC Terrain for the kids. Financing rates as low as 0.9% for eligible buyers on Terrains, and no payments for 90 days. Looking for used instead of new? Buy a used car with the Car Bravo program. Nimnicht Buick GMC certifies all makes and models. Let the #1 Buick GMC dealer in Jacksonville take care of you and your family. Come on out and see the showroom, meet the fantastic people, or shop online at nimnichtbuickgmc.com. Nimnicht, your friends in the car business since 1941. GMC, we are professional grade.
Thank you for making Action News Jax the best in Jax and Folio's Best of Jax 2023. Best TV station, Best TV newscast, Best TV morning show. Chandler Morgan voted Best TV anchor. The Chief, Mike Burrish, voted Best meteorologist. And Brent Martineau voted Best TV sports anchor. And while you're on the go, Best news website and Best local blog, The Burrish Blog. Thank you for making Action News Jax local coverage you can count on.
It's a new logo, new branding, but with Bold City Heating and Air, it's an old school approach. One of the few locally owned and operated air conditioning businesses left in Jacksonville. And with that comes the perks we miss in the big business world. It's every customer counts kind of service, from when these trucks have pulled up to my home over the last couple of years and when they pull into your driveway as well. From communication to pricing to the actual service, everyone at Bold City Heating and Air cares about you. You know who's coming to your house. You know they will be well trained. And they will respect your home. Air conditioning convenience at BoldCityAC.com. The folks at Bold City Heating and Air also know your AC unit is important and can be a big expense. That's why they have financing to help. No payments, no interest for 12 months on new systems. $50 off any repairs. Stay safe, stay comfortable with Bold City Heating and Air at BoldCityAC.com. Homegrown in your hometown. Bold City Heating and Air.
When you think sports, you think Action Sports Jax, the official station of the Jaguars, on location for every game. But the most experienced team in town doesn't stop there. From high school football to the big events in the area, Action Sports Jax is always on. Now, we take that to a new level. Action Sports Jax 24/7 is around-the-clock coverage of the teams you love and the moments you can't miss. The best local sports in Jacksonville on Action Sports Jax 24/7.
Welcome back to the Brent and Austin Show, streaming on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network.
Oh, now about a little softball in the River City Rumble. The Ospreys able to take the weekend series, but the JU Dolphins won on Sunday 4-1. So the Dolphins hanging around and get a big win. The Ospreys have clinched a spot in the ASUN tournament. They're one of the top teams in the league once again. We might even have Jeff Conrad, the softball coach, on later this week for the UNF Ospreys.
That's a bowl? Are you serious?
It's a tight strike zone, man, in softball, I can tell you that.
Oh, apparently, but come on. Oh,
tight strike zone.
And squeezed over there at JU.
Brent Martineau along with Casey Kurtz yelling at umpires. I like it. Better you than me.
Yeah. Could use some of that on no gate fees, huh?
We do have no gate fees coming up 2 o'clock on Wednesday. I think the question this week is going to be, we talk all the negative stuff about youth sports. What's the best part of youth sports?
Oh, good. The positive week.
A little positive week. Best part of youth sports. Any level. Like, what do you like the most about it?
The occasional time.
What do you miss if you used to play it?
The occasional time that a child makes it on the Corn Ferry Tour and does well. That's my favorite part of youth sports.
Is that considered youth sports?
When they turn into professional sports, all at the same time.
That'll be 2 o'clock, by the way, right here on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. You can check out the shows, also replaying on social media. But we want you to watch at 2 o'clock. Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, we replay that show. We also have Cup Date at 1 o'clock on Wednesdays and do the same with Stuart Weber, 1:30, a week with Action Sports Jax. And then 2 o'clock, no gate fees presented by Nimnicht Buick GMC. So you can catch those shows Wednesday, Thursday, Friday here on the Action Sports Jax 24/7 network. It's on the app. It's on the website, actionnewsjax.com as well, and the Action News Jax app. Good to have Kim along here on a Monday. Hamby back on Wednesday, Thursday, Friday for this draft week. We don't know who's going to be in the corner tomorrow yet. We're surprised.
Uh-oh.
We're already deeper, by the way, than we ever were.
I know.
We had 4 different people direct the show last week.
Yeah, believe me, I understand how important depth is in this role. It might not be the number one thing you're looking for in the NFL draft this year for the Jags, but if you work in this building, depth is extremely important, coming from someone who had no depth for like 3 years.
Todrick Williams says they're going to go DB unless a good offensive player falls to them, or they're probably going to trade down if Mitchell is there. They'll get him.
Yes, they will.
All right. Glenn wants South Beach Gary in the corner.
Glenn.
Has anybody heard from South Beach Gary?
Yeah.
I guess is he called in to our buddy Aaron Schachter's show or what?
I don't know. I haven't heard anything. But that would be an experience. Only the OGs remember South Beach Gary. Brad's calling on speakerphone.
Yeah, he's not calling in on speakerphone.
Thank goodness. I hope you're still listening, South Beach Gary, but holy
you
cow.
know where to find us?
Does he?
You can definitely find us.
I think it's questionable.
What was I going to ask you about this draft cycle? What were we just talking about in the break?
Things we can't say on the air, mostly.
Yeah, mostly we can't.
Hopefully our mics weren't on.
It was something coming off picking 17. Now I can't even remember. But let's do this instead. We'll go shock your mock number 4. If she's got it ready. Whoa, what happened to this one? Did I do that?
It looked fine in the preview. Hold on, let me try and fix it.
It's kind of cool looking.
This is like a double experience.
Yeah. So anyway, here's the deal. Just so you know, Shock Your Mock, presented by Everbank. We have 4 quarterfinalists. We've been putting them out on Twitter, and we also put them up here. And you can vote in the stream and the message on YouTube. If you're not on Twitter, just have to put like Q number 1, Q2, Q3, Q4, which one we're voting on, and then just say left or right. That's it. And so the poll question on Twitter will be left or right as well.
What are we doing here? Malik Neighbors?
Yeah. I mean,
what happened?
Well, they traded up to number 9 to get him.
What'd they give up? Because it looks like they got most of their pick. Okay, they get rid of 96.
Yeah, they get rid of 96. They had to give up stuff from like next year.
They had to give up
a lot.
Yeah. Like, sure. Cool.
Well, part of this is, I think this is Sawyer on the left.
I like Sawyer,
Teal
too.
Ordeal, who, by the way, got the most aesthetically pleasing award with his draft. Like, we've got to get everybody to sign up for wherever Teal Ordeal did his.
Yeah.
And by the way, very real draft on the right.
That's what I'm saying.
Like, very real possibility.
Sawyer, I like you. You used to call into Monday Morning Madness. You remember that, Brent?
I do remember that.
That was a good run. Too bad that got canceled. But there's
I was thinking about that the other day. I was like, we could bring Monday Morning Madness back. I was like, well, actually, we're doing a show during the morning.
Yeah, there's no reason to get on any earlier. There's no scenario where they get Malik Neighbors without giving up all the picks and players.
Why do people like the Max Melton guy so much out of Rutgers?
Yeah, I'm not a big fan. I don't know why. I think it's just, if you've ever done a mock draft simulator, you're familiar with this scenario where the needs are right in front of your face, and it just happens to be that the top player that's available to pick is that player. So you're like, yeah, Max Melton, let's take him.
Yeah, and it comes up like all the time. Just ends up landing on
He's
him.
always there.
Yeah.
Nobody else is picking Max Melton. So he always ends up somewhere there. But the one on the right is realistic. I like it. Sort of.
I don't understand why the other one can't be realistic, though.
Because they're not.
You just don't know what he gave up.
I know that there.
But why can't they trade with Chicago to number 9? I mean, they could get him there, or trade to Atlanta at number 8.
You think Neighbors is making it to 9?
I don't, but I don't know.
I feel like if you're, we've talked about it earlier. They think it's too rich to get in the top 10. So if it's too rich to get in the top 10, you don't have like half of these picks. You don't have any picks next year. You might not have. I mean, you definitely don't have somebody that's on your team that's good at football. I just don't know who.
Well, in fairness here, these mock drafts were done before Thursday's luncheon, where we came away with the idea that, hey, it doesn't look like they're going to go trade up in the top 10. I mean, we're all hoping they trade in the top 10 until Thursday's luncheon, where it's kind of like, yeah, maybe they're not going to do this. So I would say that.
Yeah. Outside of that, I mean, pretty solid. This one, I think it makes a lot of sense. Aaron Murphy, okay.
Of course, I put quarterfinal number 3 here instead of 4. Got to delete that tweet.
No, he's got to read. Did you copy and paste the words like I suggested?
I did, but then I forgot to change 3 to 4.
Brent, I don't know. I think when you get people voting, when they see Malik Neighbors, they're going to be excited.
They're going to be excited. I know it.
So Sawyer might walk away with the upset of all upsets with the Malik Neighbors pick. I
don't know if it's unrealistic. It's just a matter of how much you're going to give up to get. I mean, that's really the big thing when it comes to...
I'd be thrilled, though. Don't get me wrong. Sawyer, I'll be the first to apologize. I'll come back on the show when I'm not invited to tell you that I was wrong if they end up with Malik Neighbors. I'll be very excited. But it just...
Just don't think it's happening.
It's just not going to happen, Sawyer, unfortunately. But I don't have a vote here, so go vote on Twitter when he finally types it up, Brent AS Jax.
Yeah, I'm doing this fast.
Or just comment in the chat, the left or the right, and then I guess you'll advance.
Yeah, so anyway, these polls are going to go until tomorrow at like 10 o'clock in the morning or 9:45, whenever I just tally them up. And then we'll do the semifinals tomorrow in a similar way, so then we'll only have to do 2 of them. This was Austin's idea, by the way.
Bro didn't even show up. He said, hey, I've got another job that's a little bit more important. Not his words, Brent, not mine. And he didn't even show up for the quarterfinals. Can't even get a vote?
Here we go. I got it. It's all on Twitter now, and you can vote it in the chat as well. Hey, the 7-round mock draft for Jordan Reed. It's one I wanted to get to.
Oh, yes.
And just give you an idea of who he had the Jags selecting. I think it's pretty interesting because he has Brian Thomas going to the Colts at 15. And then 17, he has the Jags taking Quinyon Mitchell out of Toledo. I think a lot of people would be happy with that.
I would be.
I think everybody wants wide. That's an interesting deal right now. Sitting here on a Monday, everybody wants receiver. Everybody knows. But I think, don't you get the sense there's more of a realization, okay, do I want Brian Thomas the receiver or do I want one of these corners? I don't think everybody wants what like Brent wants, which would be pass rusher depth. Out of those 3 things, I think I might take pass rusher depth if the guy's still there. But I don't think people are leaning that way. I'm not like the public is not. I think public is leaning, give me one of those 3 guys, Odunze, Neighbors, Harrison. Mm-hmm. Well, I think the realization in the public is like that's going to be really hard to do. Everybody wants those guys. The guys that are sitting there at 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all might want those guys, might not even trade out. So the reality is, if this team ends up with Quinyon Mitchell, don't you get the sense that people would be overall pretty happy?
Yeah, I mean, it feels that way. I think he's a good player. I think you'd get a guy that can start for you right away, Brent. But I think the most important thing that they do here is, well, let me ask you this. What do you think the worst thing they could do is?
From a fan perspective?
No. Well, no. It's not a question that you'd be able to answer immediately. And I guess what I'm getting at is the worst thing they could do is reach or pick the receiver or do something with a receiver that just flat out doesn't work.
Like A.D. Mitchell.
You cannot be wrong if you're picking receiver, in my opinion. Because we've seen what the good, and Justin Jefferson's a bad example because he's all world, but like you have seen what the young receivers have done for the young quarterbacks almost immediately in multiple different situations. You've seen what teams that miss on that guy, what's happened there. So I think if you're picking receiver, whether you're trading up, likely trading up if you're getting a receiver, or you're staying where you are, doing however you're acquiring that rookie receiver, if you do it in the draft and in the first round, you can't miss on that guy. So if you're not sure, if you're Trent and Doug and you're not 100% sold, you're both not on the same page, you have to pick a defensive player, in my opinion. Because just the first round bust wide receiver, it just does not work.
Delphonic says, up until last week, Brent thought the worst thing was corner at 17. I didn't think the worst thing at corner was 17. I wasn't coming out of the combine and all these other things thinking corner was a slam dunk pick like everybody else. I get the sense of it. There's 2 things that have come around on corner for me. One, our conversation about where they probably view Darby even at $4.5 million a year. But the other thing is the realization, and this is why Vegas has corner such a heavy pick, is that the receiver's just not going to be there for him. So I think most people think like, yeah, receiver, but probably not going to be there. Like in this case, the Colts get Brian Thomas. So now you're on to the 5th wide receiver on the board.
You can't do
Well, what's better, 5th wide receiver or first or second corner? So I think logic now says the way this thing's going to fall makes more sense. But I'll tell you this, Delphonic, I do not think the best move for this, I think the best move for this franchise right now is taking the 2 guys behind Quinyon Mitchell in this scenario. If Mitchell is the pick at 17 and Byron Murphy goes to the Bengals 18 and the Rams get Jared Verse, I would rather have those 2 guys instead of Mitchell. And I don't think a lot of people would agree with me there. I'd probably rather have Verse, by the way, first and then Murphy.
I'd agree with that.
But like, out of those three players, Mitchell's third. Let me ask you this about Mitchell, too, because I kind of like him. Like, the more you read on him, the more you look at him, all this stuff, like, I do like him. I don't hate the pick. Let me just be clear about that. But is it a little scary getting a guy from Toledo who the MAC has not had a first-round pick since, like, 2017? Is that dangerous?
I mean,
or are we beyond that?
I think you're beyond that. I think it just depends on what you see on film. If you're Trent and Doug, and you just got to believe in that and what you can develop that guy into. Because, again, I mean, we've talked about this in different conversations, but there's talent all over the place now in like youth sports and college sports, and just athletes are just better now.
Well, look at the Gators. They're excited about a pick they just got on the basketball court, and they took him from FAU, who obviously has been very good the last couple of years. But how often do you have to get excited at Florida for picking a guy from FAU?
The powerhouse of FAU. So I think there are scenarios where the school thing is real. I don't think Toledo is one of them in this scenario. I wouldn't be worried about it.
Here's I'll give you the other picks by Jordan Reed, by the way, in his 7. I'm not going to go all 7 rounds.
No?
It doesn't make sense, no.
Why not? What else do we have to do?
Troy Franklin is I've seen this guy at 48 to the Jags like a million times. Mm-hmm. Everybody's got him. He's a burner, but he's like 175 pounds.
Yep.
But it's interesting that he's
big, though.
He's just mocked everywhere to the Jags, I feel like, in that second round scenario, if you don't take a receiver in round number 1. A couple other things. Let's see. 96. I'll give you 96. Whoa. Braylon Trice, Washington.
Okay. So at this point, Jordan Reed is looking for everybody on the West Coast and saying, you know what, they will acclimate well to Jacksonville because you're going to Oregon and now into Washington.
But again, what we've been talking about, you're like corner, receiver, edge. Not bad.
No, not bad.
Like at least you're identifying the spots.
You're hitting the positions of need.
So overall, not too bad. I'm going to give you one other thing that I found interesting because I just ran across his name. Mm-hmm. Remember when everyone was saying the Jaguars were going to get, what guy was everybody talking about? Now, they made a move to correspond and take him off the board. But who did everybody want the Jags to pick coming out of the season?
The center?
Yes. Very good. Good call by you.
Powers, what?
Yeah, Jackson Powers Johnson.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted the center. The reason why I bring it up, I just saw him.
Where's
He's going 33, the Panthers.
33.
So
the
33.
Panthers. Shout out to the Panthers, man. They're going to do anything but help Bryce Young. I understand the center will help him, but he needs receivers too.
That will tell you how long of a draft cycle it is.
Dang, we still were on the radio. I remember seeing those comments when we were up there.
Yeah.
And now we're not. Yeah, that is crazy. He stayed, though, in that. I mean, one pick out of the first round, but he stayed in that conversation, though, right around.
Yeah, but I think he's a little deep. I thought he'd be a little higher up. Maybe nobody else was going after center. It would have been a little bit, maybe. So it feels like a good move the Jags made.
Yes.
To get Mitch Morse. And by the way, did you also hear this from the draft lunch the other day when talked about the power run game that he said Mitch Morse or Luke Fortner? They're definitely painting that inside the building as a battle.
Just stop.
Which is interesting. But yeah, Jackson Powers Johnson was like the guy everybody was talking about. And now, obviously, the Jags don't need center, so it makes a lot of sense. They even bring Shatley back. They've technically got 3 centers on their roster.
They're locked in. They said, we're getting this yard one way or another.
They're definitely in good spot there. Keon Coleman is an interesting name on this board. They got him to the Patriots at number 34.
Okay.
Does Coleman get anybody excited around here? I thought he did for a while, but I think he's lost a little steam.
He has.
At least with like Jags fans.
He had. Well, I mean, he's lost a little bit of steam overall. I mean, this was a guy that during the season was a top 10. You know, again, the mocks during the season don't mean anything, but a guy that was talked about like that, he got hurt. But I mean, if Keon Coleman, if you could get him not there, but like not in the first round either, but if he's in that second round and you can move a little bit up to get him, I mean, he's exactly what I think they're looking for. 6'4", 215, the touchdowns, like he's that big time go get it guy, and I think that's what they're missing. And when you talk about a guy like T. Higgins, now I'm not saying that he's T. Higgins, but what I am saying is he plays that type of way, and that I think is the type of receiver they should be looking for.
I guess we'll just take it all the way to the top here. I was going to take a break, but we're good. I was thinking about this when everybody's talking about wide receiver, and kind of marinate on this one for the next couple of days. Because there's other big names, like Keon Coleman's an interesting one, Pederson interesting, like people know Ladd McConkey, so there's names that you know, and names that you like, and people like these guys. These guys are projection guys, but coming off last year where Puka Nacua is a 5th-round guy and delivered the way he does, I think there's a lot of hope that you can find that next guy. I also think Trent Baalke, talking on Thursday in the draft luncheon, indicated, hey, you're going to find that next guy. There are going to be players that actually do make a difference in the middle rounds that could become stars in this draft at offensive line and at wide receiver especially. But here's the point of this. I think that if the Jags don't land a potential number 1 receiver, I think what's the point of getting them? And so that's why the round 2 receiver isn't as crazy for me. Now, if it's a true X receiver, the outside guy, that's why they're saying Troy Franklin. I understand that. Okay, you want a burner, maybe you take the top off. And this is such a deep draft at wide receiver that maybe he is a star. You can still find a star at 48. But in my mind, once you get off Brian Thomas Jr. and those top 3 guys, I start to lose interest in receiver, because I feel less and less like they're going to be a number 1 guy that you're trying to covet.
See, I'm not fully with you there, because I think it's more to me about the style that they need to play, right? I think when Christian Kirk is fully healthy, which obviously at the end of the year he was not, that guy can be and I know if I say number 1, people are going to feel some type of way, but Christian Kirk 2 years ago was that dude. And I think in the slot, he can do some pretty magical things. He's open a lot, and you've got to go back to taking advantage of that. You've got Evan Ingram, you know what he's capable of. So to me, I think you can get a guy in the 2nd round. And I think your main goal, if he's not, one of the top 4 receivers, he needs to be somebody that just opens things up. And whether that's go and you're faster than everybody, or whether that's go and you're not faster than everybody, but I trust that I can throw this up here and you're going to make a play on the football, which is where a Keon Coleman would come in. So I think the 2nd round receiver, I think, is extremely important, but it has to fit the style of play that they need. If you're sitting here saying that they do pick a receiver in the 2nd round and it's another dude that's a bit undersized and is better in the slot, like a Parker Washington type of, okay, what are you doing then? So I think the 2nd round receiver does make sense, because you've got to figure out a way to open it up and get Christian Kirk and Evan Ingram in their best chances to cook, which is when you have help on the outside.
Yeah, and that's, I guess, why I'm a little bit on the couch here saying, hey, maybe I shouldn't do that. I shouldn't get wrapped up in, hey, do you have to be a number 1 receiver, 2 receiver? I agree with you on Kirk. I have a lot of faith in Kirk. I believe in Kirk. I think Davis is going to add an element. You talk about different kind of guy that you have, right? I actually believe in Zay Jones, I think, more than the rest of the public does right now. I think everybody's trying to upgrade over Zay Jones. I don't mind Zay Jones. I think he's a good part of this offense. He 2 years ago had a career year. I think Trevor likes him a bunch. I think there's something to be said for that. I think Ingram adds to their receiving core, so you do have different style guys. I think Doug's won before without a true number 1 wide receiver. There are plenty of reasons to say you don't need wide receiver. Now, I like young wide receiver to go along with Trevor Lawrence and Gabe Davis for the next 5 years. Once Zay Jones is done with his contract, Christian Kirk, he's going to get older and older. I mean, he's not old right now, but
right.
So there are reasons why I want that number 1 wide receiver to be drafted. But I think you said it. I either want a number 1 or a burner.
Mm-hmm.
That outside guy. That's who's going to replace Calvin.
Yeah. It has to fit the style of play. If they draft Ladd McConkey,
That's exactly it. Do I think Ricky Pearsall and Ladd McConkey and these guys could be good players? And now is everybody going to go try to find the Puka Nacua? Do you have room for them? Do you make room for them? Maybe you do. But in my mind, those guys aren't the guy that the Jags need.
No, definitely not. I agree with that. To me, the 2 names that you said, which again weren't mocked, or Troy Franklin was, and then Keon Coleman, again, not the fastest, but can make plays. Like that, if they pick that in the 2nd round and you pick a defensive player in the 1st round, I'd be thrilled.
Yeah, and I think the chat actually is that's why Legette's fun to look at. right? Mm-hmm. He's got a little bit of everything to him. And maybe steal star potential. Mm-hmm. Like, see, that guy intrigues me.
Yeah.
Because of all those things that we just talked about. So, again, some of this perception is pretty wild. It's interesting how, like, we've painted it and how we feel about it. I do think if the Jags, like, come away with no wide receiver, I don't hate their offense. I think we have to worry about that. I think we have to watch that.
No receiver at all, or just?
Well, I mean, like, somebody that's going to impact to that degree. Like, if they don't end up, would I like them to get wide receiver, pass rusher, or a corner pass? But does it make them, if they do get Jared Verse, which I think is an important part of it, and they went corner in round 2, I can't fault them for that. So now you're not getting wide receiver until round 3, and that guy's less impactful.
I agree.
I'm not killing that.
No, I'm not killing it. But if you do that, and again, if players fall to you, that's one thing. But if you do that, then they need to be absolutely sure they can run the ball, because that's what this all comes back to. You don't necessarily, you need a receiver, but you don't necessarily need that top. We got to trade up, get this guy, if you can get a yard when you need a yard. Like, I think this all comes down to their inability to run the football in the middle of their offensive line last year has caused this whole debacle. And if you can go back to playing football like most other teams do, and that's running the football and doing that type of stuff, then you can get away with less at receiver.
All right, remember you can vote for Shock Your Mock, presented by Everbank. All our draft coverage presented by Everbank this week, including Thursday night's special on TV on Fox 30 at 7 o'clock. And it's that lunchtime, or if you're already looking toward dinner, don't forget Donato's Pizza, Mandarin Jack's Beach. Use code Brent20 to save 20% off at your Donato's Pizza order any time of the day, any day of the week. It's Brent20 at Donato's Pizza. All right, Casey Kurt's going to join us back again tomorrow. Thanks to Kim in the corner. I'm Brent Martineau. It's the Brent and Austen Show. Austin will join us from Vegas tomorrow as well, 10 a.m. until 1 p.m. Oh, can't wait to be there on Thursday. The countdown continues to NFL Draft 2024. Have a good day, everybody.